Chapter 251. A young man dressed in clothes whiter than snow stood in the air, facing the young man dressed in black. From afar, it was a stark contrast. "You're also a mid-Dharma adept of the lightning sword sect?" The young man in black, Han Yujing, looked at the young man in white and raised an eyebrow. His eyes narrowed, and the mocking smile on his face froze. Autumn Valley disciple, Zhou Dongwang. Zhou Dongwang lifted his eyelids lazily and glanced at Han Yujing as he spoke unhurriedly. Autumn Valley disciple. Han Yujing was stunned for a moment, and then the mocking smile on his face blossomed again. "Didn't you see that the core disciples of the Lightning Sword sect were defeated by me? You're just an inner disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. Do you really think you're a match for me?" As he spoke, the mocking smile on Han Yujing's face grew wider, and a look of disdain flashed across his eyes. At the same time, many people of the Lightning Sword sect heard Zhou Dongwang's self-introduction and were stunned for a moment before they finally reacted. It's the Autumn Valley disciple, Zhou Dongwang. The Zhou Dongwang who just entered the early Dharma stage and defeated the Summer Valley disciple, Lien Can. This Zhou Dongwang just entered the early Dharma stage a few months ago. Could he have already entered the mid-Dharma stage? Impossible. How could he jump from the ultimate primal core stage to the mid-Dharma stage in just a few short months? Could it be that he wants to fight with Han Yujing of the Thunder Knife sect as an early Dharma adept? Come to think of it, this Zhou Dongwang is not older than Han Yujing. Han Yujing naturally heard the discussions of the people of the Lightning Sword sect, just entered the early Dharma stage a few months ago, defeated the Summer Valley disciple, Lien Can, the Lightning Sword sect disciple who was defeated by Xieyin. Han Yujing remembered that the first inner disciple of the Thunder Knife sect to fight today had fought with a disciple of the Lightning Sword sect named Lien Can and defeated him. For a moment, the sneer on his face was so thick that it couldn't be any thicker. Valley Head He. High up in the sky, Luo Yuanxiu looked at Yijin. Could it be that this disciple of the Autumn Valley is stronger than Hu Jian? He doesn't look any older than my disciple, Han Yujing. As soon as Luo Yuanxiu finished speaking, Yijin smiled faintly and said, "He's only 24 years old this year. Come to think of it, he's the same age as your disciple, sect leader Luo." "Same age? Interesting, interesting." Luo Yuanxiu was taken aback for a moment, and then he laughed as a trace of contempt flashed in the depths of his eyes. A 24-year-old inner sect disciple of the Lightning Sword sect dared to challenge Luo Yuanxiu's prized disciple, Han Yujing? He was simply asking to be humiliated. In Luo Yuanxiu's opinion, not to mention the Tailao planet, even in the entire Honglio galaxy, he might not be able to find a person of the same age as Han Yujing who was a match for him. Junior brother He. As Lien Can stared at Zhou Dongwang suspiciously, Lien Kun approached Yijin and whispered, "Could it be that this Zhou Dongwang of the Autumn Valley has broken through to the mid-Dharma stage?" Lien Kun knew how powerful Zhou Dongwang was. He had only just broken through to the early Dharma stage, but he was already able to defeat his godson and personal disciple, Lien Can. When Lien Can had been at the early Dharma stage, there was basically no one in the Summer Valley who was stronger than him. However, in front of Zhou Dongwang, he had taken the initiative and still lost miserably. From then on, Lien Kun felt that Zhou Dongwang was not as simple as he seemed. Today, even though the Lightning Sword sect's core disciple, Hu Jian, had been defeated by Han Yujing, Yijin still allowed Zhou Dongwang to enter the arena. What did this mean? Yijin had confidence in Zhou Dongwang. Because of this, he had asked Yijin if Zhou Dongwang had already entered the mid-Dharma stage. Although he did not think it was possible, he could not help but ask. This was because he felt that although Zhou Dongwang had displayed powerful abilities when he was at the early Dharma stage, he was at most stronger than an average mid-Dharma adept. Compared to a peak mid-Dharma adept like Han Yujing, he was definitely no match for him. Based on the abilities that Han Yujing had displayed so far, even if he were to face an average late Dharma adept, he might still be able to put up a fight. Senior brother Lien, if you keep watching, won't you find out? Faced with Lien Kun's question, Yijin did not answer directly. He only smiled mysteriously causing Lien Kuan to turn his attention back to the arena. "You're Zhou Dongwang, right?" Han Yujing looked at Zhou Dongwang, a mocking smile on his lips. "If you want to fight me, then show your Dharma power first. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't even have the chance to do so." It had to be said that Han Yujing was very arrogant. However, even the people of the Lightning Sword sect who were present felt that he had the right to be arrogant. After all, even the only mid-Dharma adept in the Lightning Sword sect could not withstand more than 3 blows from him. Faced with the arrogant Han Yujing, Zhou Dongwang's expression did not change. However, as soon as he opened his mouth, Han Yujing's expression changed completely. "If not for the Valley Head's invitation, I, Zhou Dongwang, would not be interested in standing out to teach a lesson to a frog in a well like you." These were Zhou Dongwang's words. You called me a frog in a well?" The disdain in Han Yujing's eyes was replaced by a cold glint. When he looked at Zhou Dongwang again, his face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. The mocking smile on his lips had also turned into a vicious grin. "A mid-Dharma adept, and with that little power of yours, you're acting like you're invincible. If you're not a frog in a well, then what are you?" Zhou Dongwang said, shaking his head. From beginning to end, his tone was as calm as before, and there was no discernible emotion in it. In contrast to Zhou Dongwang's calmness, Han Yujing was already furious. Whoosh! Han Yujing's giant umbrella Dharma power also appeared at the right time. The 3-meter-tall, giant umbrella Dharma power spun continuously above his head. From every angle, it looked perfect and harmonious, as if there were no flaws. Of course, this was in the eyes of others. In Zhou Dongwang's eyes, although there were not many flaws in Han Yujing's giant umbrella Dharma power, there were still 2 that were very fatal. One of them was fine, as it was hidden on the inside, but the other was on the outside. Even if Han Yujing wanted to hide it, he could not. I'm convinced. This Autumn Valley disciple Zhou Dongwang. Let's not talk about power, but in terms of arrogance, Han Yujing can't even compare to him. I originally thought that Han Yujing was arrogant enough, but when he's arrogant, it's boundless. Most importantly, he can still maintain a straight face. In terms of arrogance, Han Yujing is really a frog in a well in front of him. Although there were not many people from the Lightning Sword sect present who thought that Zhou Dongwang was a match for Han Yujing. Now that Zhou Dongwang was suppressing Han Yujing in terms of aura, it was still a great relief to them. "Zhou Dongwang, you said that I'm a frog in a well." Han Yujing stared coldly at Zhou Dongwang, and the 3-meter-tall, giant umbrella Dharma power spun even faster at this moment. "Then I'd like to see how much you, an inner sect disciple of the Lightning Sword sect who claims that I'm a frog in a well, have." As soon as he finished speaking, Han Yujing moved. His entire body was carried by the giant umbrella Dharma power as it spun and flew out. Not only was his attacking stance aggressive, but his defensive stance was also airtight. Buzz, 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 buzz. The giant umbrella Dermic idol spun in the air like a spiral knife, emitting a series of screeching sounds. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Han Yujing was the first to strike. Furthermore, Han Yujing had attacked in a fit of rage. There was no way he would hold back. "I said you're a frog at the bottom of a well. You're not convinced?" Faced with the menacing Han Yujing, Zhou Dongwang's expression did not change. As he spoke, the giant tiger Dharma power appeared. The king of all beasts looked down on everyone. "Today, if you can receive one of my palm strikes, it will be considered your victory." When Zhou Dongwang spoke again, not only did his words stun everyone present, but the changes to his Dharma power also shocked everyone. Zhou Dongwang's Dharma power descended in the blink of an eye and attached itself to his body, causing his body to seem to be burning with a blazing inner Yuan flame. In this spiritual essence flame, one could vaguely see some of the characteristics of the giant tiger Dharma power, such as the tiger's head, the tiger's body, and the tiger's tail. At this moment, the Dharma power and Zhou Dongwang's body fused together perfectly. Dharma power possession, and this scene fell into the eyes of those present, and they immediately jumped in fright. Dharma power possession was something that many ultimate Dharma adepts could not achieve before they entered the primordial soul stage. In order to achieve Dharma power possession, one must not only train the Dharma power to the point of perfection, but also have to have a deep understanding of the Dharma power and be able to control the power of the Dharma power like an extension of one's own arm. Whoosh! Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, facing the menacing Han Yujing with the giant umbrella Dharma power, Zhou Donghuang's body moved, and he pounced like a ferocious tiger, descending the mountain. As his palm landed, the shadow of the Dharma power in the shape of a tiger's claw flashed around his palm, faintly discernible. Bang! Accompanied by a loud sound, Zhou Donghuang's palm landed on the side of Han Yujing's giant umbrella Dharma power, accurately hitting one of its fatal flaws. This flaw was something that Han Yujing had been covering up all this time. The giant umbrella Dharma power kept spinning, and to a certain extent, it was to cover up this exposed flaw. However, even as the giant umbrella Dharma power spun rapidly, Zhou Donghuang's palm landed, accurately hitting this flaw. With the flaw hit, the giant umbrella Dharma power could not withstand the power of Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power, and it was instantly destroyed. At the same time, Han Yujing's body trembled as he suffered the backlash of inner yuan. His face turned red, and he resisted the urge to vomit blood. Bang! However, as Zhou Donghuang's palm continued to land, brushing past his shoulder, the sudden pressure caused him to open his mouth and spit out a mouthful of blood. Han Yujing's robe was torn from a shoulder that Zhou Donghuang's palm had brushed past, revealing his arm. On it, one could vaguely see a scalding red wound, and streams of blood flowed from it, dazzling the eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 252. And this was Zhou Donghuang showing mercy. Otherwise, Zhou Donghuang's palm could have landed on Han Yujing's head and killed him. Even if he did not kill him, he could have landed on his shoulder and crippled him. Whoosh! As Zhou Donghuang's palm brushed past Han Yujing's arm, Han Yujing was like a bird startled by the mere twang of a bough. He hurriedly activated the remaining inner yuan in his Dharma power and retreated to avoid the attack. Zhou Donghuang did not chase after him. He only stood where he was and looked at him calmly. Are you convinced now? At this time, Han Yujing had completely recovered from his shock. Thinking back to what had just happened, he broke out in a cold sweat. He knew that his opponent had shown him mercy. Otherwise, he would have been crippled even if he did not die. Han Yujing sucked in a breath of cold air and glared at Zhou Donghuang. His expression was dark as he said coldly, "One day, I will defeat you." To Han Yujing, he was only 24 years old. Although the youth in front of him looked younger than him, he could not rule out the possibility that he was actually much older than him. Is that so? Faced with Han Yujing's threat, Zhou Donghuang only smiled lightly. Then I'll wait and see. At this moment, the onlookers finally recovered from the shock one after another. He won. Zhou Donghuang really defeated the Thunder Knife sect disciple, Han Yujing, with just one move? My God, this ability, isn't it too unbelievable? He seemed to have used the Dharma body integration technique just now. As far as I know, in the current generation of the Tai Lao planet, even among the ultimate Dharma adepts, there are very few who can master the Dharma body integration technique, right? I never thought that the Lightning Sword sect would have such a genius hidden away. The people of the Lightning Sword sect had originally thought that the Lightning Sword sect would lose to the Thunder Knife sect in today's sparring match. After all, even the Lightning Sword sect's only mid-Dharma core disciple had been defeated. They did not expect that at the last moment, Zhou Donghuang would come out and defeat the Thunder Knife sect's strongest mid-Dharma adept, Han Yujing, with just one move. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell what had happened just now. Zhou Donghuang had already shown mercy. Otherwise, Han Yujing would have been crippled, if not dead. Sect leader Luo, I didn't expect you to know that the Lightning Sword sect has a mid-Dharma adept who is even stronger than Hu Jian. Where did you get this information from? He Jin was not surprised to see Zhou Donghuang defeat Han Yujing in one move. He even looked at the Thunder Knife sect leader, Luo Yuanqiu, and asked with a mocking smile. The smile on Luo Yuanqiu's face, which was always full of smiles, suddenly froze. He looked a little awkward. After a while, he looked deeply at Jin. Then his gaze landed on the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing. Sect leader Yu, The Thunder Knife sect has lost this battle. I really did not expect the Lightning Sword sect to have so many hidden talents. Farewell." With that, Luo Yuanxiu did not even bother with pleasantries. He took his leave and left with the elders of the Thunder Knife sect, as well as Han Yuzheng and a few other disciples. Seeing Luo Yuanxiu leave with his people, the people of the Lightning Sword sect felt a sense of pride. When the figures of Luo Yuanxiu and his people disappeared from sight, the atmosphere of the scene became lively again. The Thunder Knife sect leader must have never imagined that the battle initiated by the Thunder Knife sect would end up like this. I thought we had lost just now. After all, even Hu Jian was defeated. Me too. I didn't expect the Autumn Valley to have a trump card like Zhou Dongwang. When Zhou Dongwang attacked, he displayed a Dharma power that was even more perfect than Han Yuzheng's Dharma power, and he even used the Dermic Possession technique to defeat Han Yuzheng in one move. Even the only mid-Dharma core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect, Hu Jian, could not last more than 3 moves against Han Yuzheng. Han Yuzheng was defeated by Zhou Dongwang in one move. From now on, the number 1 mid-Dharma adept of the Lightning Sword sect will no longer be Hu Jian, but Zhou Dongwang. A few months ago, when Zhou Dongwang went to the Summer Valley and defeated the Summer Valley disciple, Lian Can, he had only gained a small reputation in the Lightning Sword sect. Now that he had helped the Lightning Sword sect win this battle against the Thunder Knife sect, his name had truly risen to fame, and his name was known throughout the entire Lightning Sword sect. Today, he had helped the Lightning Sword sect vent its anger. Most of the people of the Lightning Sword sect were indebted to Zhou Dongwang for this matter. After the people of the Thunder Knife sect had left, the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, could not help but laugh loudly. Awesome. That Luo Yuanxiu, didn't he come all the way to the Lightning Sword sect to show off his genius disciple, Han Yuzheng? And in the end, he was defeated in one move by an inner disciple of the Lightning Sword sect of the same age. Now, he must be regretting it so much that his intestines are green. Yu Yuqing laughed as he looked at He Jin. He Jin, your disciple, Zhou Dongwang, deserves the credit for what happened today. From today onwards, he will be a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. As soon as Yu Yuqing said this, Lian Can, who was standing behind the Summer Valley head Lian Kun, had a look of envy in his eyes. At the same time, his face was full of bitterness. He had originally thought that his breakthrough to the mid-Dharma stage, coupled with the rapid improvement of his Dharma power, would be enough to take revenge on Zhou Dongwang. However, he did not expect that Zhou Dongwang had also entered the mid-Dharma stage, and the power that he had displayed was so strong that even late Dharma adepts would not be able to match him, let alone mid-Dharma adepts of the same level. The power of the Thunder Knife sect disciple, Han Yuzheng, was obvious to all. Even late Dharma adepts would not dare say that they could defeat him in one move. But Zhou Dongwang had done it. At this moment, Lian Can felt the chasm between him and Zhou Dongwang, and this gap was enough to make him despair. Junior brother your Autumn Valley really hid your strength well. The Spring Valley head, Lu Fengao, looked at He Jin, his face full of admiration. I never thought that in the Lightning Sword sect there would be a mid-Dharma adept of this level. Furthermore, you said that he is only 24 years old this year? As soon as Lu Fengao said this, the gazes of the surrounding crowd, with the exception of He Mengshi, all fell on He Jin. He Jin smiled and nodded. At that moment, the crowd could not help but gasp. The Summer Valley head, Lian Kun, sighed and said, Junior brother this time, your Autumn Valley has really picked up a treasure. Senior brother can you tell me, where did you find this Zhou Dongwang? I would like to try my luck too. The Winter Valley head, Lung Qinxiu, had a serious look on his face, and he did not seem to be joking. Enjoying the attention of the crowd, He Jin smiled brightly. This was the first time that He Jin had been so proud in front of these people. At the same time, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Zhou Dongwang returned to the sky and returned to He Mengshi's side. Third senior sister, now that this is over, shall we go back? Little junior brother, the sect leader just said that from today onwards, You are a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. You can go to the Lightning Peak to train, Himengshi said with a smile. Although she knew that Zhou Dongwang did not care whether he could become a core disciple or not, and whether he could go to the Lightning Peak to train, she was still happy for him. After all, in the past, only she, de Zhuang, and her father knew that this little brother of hers was extraordinary. This time, he had gained the approval of the sect leader, which was equivalent to gaining the approval of the entire Lightning Sword sect. Zhou Dongwang. At that moment, Yu Yuqing looked at Zhou Dongwang with a kind smile on his face. Today, it is all thanks to you that the Lightning Sword sect has been saved. With your talent, it is more than enough for you to become a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. Allowing you to become a core disciple is not a reward for you. Tell me, what reward do you want? Yu Yuqing asked. Hearing Yu Yuqing's words, Zhou Dongwang's eyes lit up. As the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing's efficiency in collecting the rare herbs that he wanted would definitely be higher than Hejin, the Autumn Valley head. Now that there was such a good opportunity, how could he miss it? Thinking of this, Zhou Dongwang replied bluntly, Sect leader, I want some rare herbs. To Zhou Dongwang, the most important thing now was to quickly increase his level of practice. Now, not to mention the entire Hunglio galaxy, even on the Tailao planet, or even within the Lightning Sword sect, his current ability was not even worth mentioning. Even with his current ability, in the entire Hunglio galaxy, he did not need to fear any adept below the ultimate Dharma stage. However, if it was an adept above the ultimate Dharma stage with his current ability, it would be difficult for him to deal with them. After the group of people from the Thunder Knife sect left the Lightning Sword sect under the leadership of sect leader Luo Yuanxiu, the atmosphere was somewhat gloomy and suffocating. Yujing. In the end, it was the sect leader, Luo Yuanxiu, who broke the gloomy and suffocating atmosphere. A moment of success or failure does not determine anything. Master, I know that. Han Yujing nodded, his eyes shining brightly. Just as I said to Zhou Dongwang just now, one day I will defeat him. This year, I am only 24 years old. When he was 24, he might not have had the ability that I have now. Han Yujing said. Hearing Han Yujing's words, Luo Yuanxiu was stunned at first, then smiled bitterly and said, Yujing, I forgot to tell you that Zhou Dongwang is the same as you this year, 24 years old. As soon as Luo Yuanxiu said this, Han Yujing's expression changed slightly, and the rest of the people from the Thunder Knife sect all looked shocked and incredulous. Even so, it is not impossible for you to surpass him in the future. I'm telling you this in the hopes that it will give you more pressure. More pressure, more motivation. Luo Yuanxiu patted Han Yujing on the shoulder and said, Master has confidence in you. Hearing this, the light that had disappeared not long ago not only reappeared in Han Yujing's eyes, but also became even more brilliant, making his eyes look like the stars in the night sky. End of this chapter. Chapter 253. After defeating Han Yujing of the Thunder Knife sect in one blow, Zhou Dongwang's reputation in the Lightning Sword sect skyrocketed. When the people of the Lightning Sword sect found out that Zhou Dongwang was only 24 years old, the same age as Han Yujing, they could not help but be shocked. Han Yujing, the once-in-a-century martial arts genius of the Tailao planet, in front of junior brother Dongwang, he's nothing. Exactly. He's also only 24 years old. Look at Zhou Dongwang, a core disciple of the Lightning Sword sect, and then look at him. How embarrassing. Zhou Dongwang did not care about his sudden rise to fame in the Lightning Sword sect. In his previous life, he had been in an even bigger situation. This was nothing to him, and he did not feel anything special about it. His life was still the same as it had been in the past, refining pills and practicing. What was worth mentioning was that, because of the promise made by the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, that day, Zhou Dongwang had managed to gather a batch of medicinal herbs from the Lightning Sword sect that were difficult for Hejin to collect. With the pills refined from these medicinal herbs, not only did his cultivation advance by leaps and bounds, but his third senior sister's cultivation also advanced by leaps and bounds. Although the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, had given Zhou Dongwang special permission to become a core disciple and train at the Lightning Peak. Zhou Dongwang had never set foot there before. To Zhou Dongwang, there was no difference between practicing in the Autumn Valley and at the Lightning Peak. Both were in the Lightning Sword sect, and he could not be bothered to move. In the Autumn Valley, there were many things that were more convenient. At least, the support and help that the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, gave him was something that no one in the Lightning Sword sect could give him. Now, He Jin often kept an eye on Zhou Dongwang's residence. As soon as Zhou Dongwang stepped out of his room, he would immediately look for him to chat. All of this was because He Jin had once asked Zhou Dongwang a question about practice while they were chatting. After he had asked the question, he regretted it immediately. How could a Dharma adept like Zhou Dongwang solve a problem that was an ultimate primordial soul adept's problem? However, Zhou Dongwang's perfect answer had enlightened him, and he was now getting closer and closer to the divine transformation stage. Among the 4 valley heads of the inner sect, He Jin, might be the first to enter the divine transformation stage. He Jin had thought of this more than once. It was also from that time onwards that He Jin often sought out Zhou Dongwang to ask him questions about training, just like a humble student who was listening to a lecture. Every time, He Jin would gain something. As such, when He Jin saw Zhou Dongwang now, he could not help but show some respect in his eyes, as if he was looking at his own teacher. Valley Head, the Lightning Sword sect only has one divine transformation adept. Zhou Dongwang asked He Jin. On the surface, there's only the sect master. He Jin smiled and said, "However, there's another person behind this. It's just that very few people know about this person's existence." In many people's eyes, he had already left the Lightning Sword sect and the Honglio galaxy many years ago to explore other galaxies. Zhou Dongwang was enlightened. He naturally knew that there were countless legacies like the Lightning Sword sect in the boundless universe. If this kind of orthodoxy was powerful enough to be called supreme in a star region, it meant that the star region it was in had an extremely limited cultivation environment and cultivation resources, and the scale was too small. Under such circumstances, many adepts who wanted to reach a higher level or even break the shackles of life would choose to leave the galaxy where their sect was located and head to a wider, more fertile galaxy. They would either die in another galaxy, or they would gain some success in another galaxy and gain a foothold before returning to bring their loved ones over. As time passed, they gradually lost contact with their original sections. There were actually many divine transformation adepts who had left the Lightning Sword sect and left the Honglio galaxy, but very few had returned. After all, the outside world was full of unknowns, and no one knew what they would encounter once they left. Some of them might have died not long after they left the Honglio galaxy. Before they left, they also knew that there was a risk. However, they still chose to do so because they knew that if they continued to stay in the Honglio galaxy, their achievements would be limited. They had to leave the galaxy to have any hope of improving. Not to mention others, just Zhou Dongwang. Why did Zhou Dongwang want to leave the Ziyun planet and the Kaiyuan galaxy? It was because the Ziyun planet and the Kaiyuan galaxy were too small and the training resources were limited. It was not enough for him to grow quickly. In fact, if he had stayed on the Ziyun planet, even if Zhou Dongwang had 1,000 years' worth of memories from his previous life, he would at most be stuck at the primordial soul stage in this life. That person should be stronger than the sect leader? Zhou Dongwang asked. Yes. He Jin nodded, and his eyes were filled with passion. The sect leader is at the mid-divine transformation stage. The further one progressed in martial arts, the more difficult it became. Before receiving the 1,000-star sword technique, which was said to be one of the best techniques in the universe, He Jin had doubted himself more than once. Would he be able to enter the divine transformation stage in his lifetime? When he had completely switched to the 1,000-star sword technique, his abilities had increased, and his level of practice had increased so quickly that he felt that the divine transformation stage was not far away. In fact, if he was given enough time, the mid-divine transformation stage, late divine transformation stage, and ultimate divine transformation stage which he didn't even dare to dream about, would no longer be a dream. Mid-divine transformation stage. Zhou Dongwang nodded. In his previous life, he had discussed with third senior sister He Mengxi about the level of the strongest adepts in the Honglio galaxy, so he had a certain understanding of the situation in the Honglio galaxy. The strongest adepts in the Honglio galaxy were basically at the mid-divine transformation stage. No matter how strong they were, it was difficult for them to appear in the Honglio galaxy. Of course, even if it was difficult, it was not impossible. Even in the current generation of the Honglio galaxy, there might be adepts at the late divine transformation stage, but they were few and far between. Of course, this was only Zhou Donghuang's guess. However, in his previous life, according to third senior sister He Mengxi, she had never heard of any adepts above the late divine transformation stage in the Honglio galaxy. Valley Leader, I'm not sure when exactly the crisis that the Lightning Sword sect faced was. Zhou Dongwang looked at Yi and took the initiative to bring this up. In my dream, third senior sister only said that not long after she entered the late Dharma stage, the Lightning Sword sect faced a crisis. However, I can't be sure when she entered the late Dharma stage. Now, third senior sister has switched to the 1,000-star sword technique, and with the help of the core medicine that I have refined, her training speed is naturally much faster than before. When she enters the primordial soul stage, the crisis that the Lightning Sword sect faced probably hasn't even happened yet. Zhou Dongwang said, "There should still be some time. I just hope that when that time comes, I will have the ability to protect the sect." He Jin's expression was somewhat solemn. After all, in Zhou Donghuang's dream, he was one of the members who had died in the battle. Zhou Dongwang smiled bitterly. Originally, the best solution would have been for He Jin and his daughter to leave the Lightning Sword sect. That way, they would naturally be able to avoid the crisis. After all, they were not the cause of the crisis. However, after spending some time together, Zhou Dongwang understood that He Jin would not easily abandon the Lightning Sword sect. Especially after switching to the 1,000-star sword technique, He Jin would definitely try to use his own strength to protect the Lightning Sword sect. Forget it, I won't think too much about it. I'll just deal with whatever comes my way. Zhou Dongwang had already prepared himself for the worst. At most, he would think of another way to force He Jin and his daughter to leave with him. He would then come back for revenge in the future. Even without my help, third senior sister will definitely be able to enter the mid-Dharma stage by the end of this year. With her talent and the training resources provided by the Valley Head, it will take her at most 10 years to reach the late Dharma stage if she trains normally. That's not to say that there were any changes. If there were any changes, such as obtaining a core medicine or spirit fruit that could help her level up quickly, it would definitely not take more than 10 years. Zhou Dongwang wanted to calculate what had happened to the Lightning Sword sect, but he realized that he could not do so at all. There were too many variables in this period of time. There was no way to calculate. If I had known, I would have gone back 1,000 years and asked third senior sister who destroyed the Lightning Sword sect. At that time, third senior sister only told me that it was destroyed by a force stronger than the Lightning Sword sect, and that the culprit was the Spring Valley Head. As he thought of this, Zhou Dongwang felt a little regretful. Of course, he quickly suppressed this thought because he knew that regret was useless. In his previous life, he would never have thought that he would one day go back 1,000 years and start all over again. Should I ask the Spring Valley Head to leave the Lightning Sword sect? As soon as this thought arose, Zhou Donghuang suppressed it because it was not realistic. Not everyone could be like He Jin and his daughter and accompany him in his madness. Of course, He Mengxi accompanied him in his madness because he knew some secrets about her that only she knew. As for He Jin accompanying him, it was because he had taken out the 1,000-star sword technique. He could not possibly hand over the 1,000-star sword technique to the Lightning Sword sect leader and ask him to cooperate with him to expel the Spring Valley Head from the Lightning Sword sect. Could he? That was not realistic. Furthermore, he did not trust the Lightning Sword sect leader because he did not know what kind of person he was. He could not risk putting his life in the hands of the Lightning Sword sect leader. In fact, If Eugene insisted on doing so, he would force third senior sister to leave the Lightning Sword sect and find another place to live. Of course, this was just a hypothetical situation, based on He-Jin's character, as long as Zhou Donghuang did not agree. Even if Eugene had such thoughts, he would not act on them. Unknowingly, it has been more than a year since I left the Ziyun planet. After He-Jin left, Zhou Donghuang sat at the stone table and looked at the flowers and grass in the courtyard. He sighed softly, and many figures flashed through his mind. His mother Lin Lan, his sister Yin Lu, Yang Zixi, Run Jiaopei, Fu, and the others. Calculating the time, it was now November 1235 of the Ziyun era, and he had left the Ziyun planet in September 1234 of the Ziyun era. End of this chapter. Chapter 254. Third senior sister, how is the matter that I asked you to look into? Zhou Donghuang had asked He Mengxi to look into Luo Qinghan's whereabouts after she had returned from the Ziyun planet. He wanted to know which sect in the Honglio galaxy Luo Qinghan had joined. Luo Qinghan was different from him. He had 1,000 years of memories from his past life, so no matter where he went, he was like a fish in water. Luo Qinghan could only be considered a person from a small place in the Honglio galaxy. In the Honglio galaxy, even if Luo Qinghan was talented, it was not easy for her to have a smooth journey. Now, he already saw Luo Qinghan as his woman, so he naturally could not watch her take risks outside. It would be best for her to stay by his side, so that he could maximize her safety. Of course, staying by his side would not only ensure Luo Qinghan's safety, but it would also ensure that Luo Qinghan's level of practice and ability would advance to the next level. Of course, other than asking He Mengxi to help investigate Luo Qinghan's whereabouts, Zhou Donghuang had also used the galaxy teleporter to go to the Tianxian planet of the Laha galaxy to deliver some elixirs to the head of the Luo family, Luo Wuchen. When Luo Wuchen saw Zhou Donghuang again, he addressed Zhou Donghuang as son-in-law, even more warmly than his own father. Of course, as he delivered the elixirs to Luo Wuchen, he also asked Luo Wuchen and found out that Luo Qinghan had not returned to the Luo family since she had left 2 years ago. After telling Luo Wuchen that he was at the Lightning Sword sect on the Tailao planet of the Honglio galaxy, Zhou Donghuang left and instructed Luo Wuchen to inform him at the Lightning Sword sect if Luo Qinghan returned. It did not take long to travel between the Luo family and the Lightning Sword sect using the galaxy teleporter. Luo Wuchen agreed to Zhou Donghuang's instructions and said that when Luo Qinghan returned, he would inform Zhou Donghuang to go to the Luo family and arrange their marriage. Zhou Donghuang did not know why, but he felt an inexplicable sense of anticipation. There are a total of 3 top sects on the Tailao planet. However, whether it is the Lightning Sword sect, the Thunder Knife sect, or even the Xinyuan sect, I have asked people to find out who the Luo Qinghan you're talking about is. He Mengxi said, I've also sent people to investigate the planets around the Tailao star. There should be news in the near future. As for the planets further away, I've also asked my father to send people to investigate. It'll take some time before there's any news. Yes, Zhou Donghuang nodded. Little junior brother, that Luo Qinghan, from her name, is a woman? He Mengxi asked. Yes. Zhou Donghuang nodded. Who is she? He Mengxi looked at Zhou Donghuang again, this time with a hint of mockery. He Mengxi had thought that Zhou Donghuang would be embarrassed, but she realized that not only was Zhou Donghuang not embarrassed, he even said matter-of-factly, my woman. Zhou Donghuang's straightforwardness left He Mengxi at a loss for words. She could only say casually, Don't worry, my father has already sent people to investigate. I'm sure we'll have news of her soon. Just as she finished speaking, as if she had thought of something, He Mengxi asked, De Zhuang, is he still training? Yes. Hearing He Mengxi mention De Zhuang, Zhou Donghuang's lips curled into a rare smile. De Zhuang was definitely the most hard-working person he had ever met in his life. After realizing that he had a chance to avenge the giant apes that had raised him, he had trained like a madman, working harder than anyone else. Even Zhou Donghuang could feel his determination to avenge those demonic apes. Hasn't he already broken through to the mid-Dharma stage? Why isn't he resting? He Mengshi was also shocked because every time she had come, De Zhuang had been training both before and after he had broken through to the mid-Dharma stage. Is this really okay? He Mengshi was a little worried. How could she not know what De Zhuang was thinking? De Zhuang had always wanted to avenge the giant apes that had raised him. In the past, the chances had been slim, and De Zhuang had given up on himself. Now, the chance was right in front of him, and De Zhuang was afraid of missing it. So he trained with all his might. Third senior sister, don't worry. Zhou Dongwang shook his head and said, most people who train like this will only get half the results with twice the effort, and it won't be of much use, but De Zhuang has the elixir that I have refined to help him train, so there won't be any problems. Zhou Dongwang was very clear about the elixir that he had refined. No matter how hard De Zhuang trained, it wouldn't affect his body at all. Yes, He Mengshi believed Zhou Donghuang's words. Ever since she had met this little brother, he had brought her too many surprises. Little brother, I'm going back to train too. Perhaps she had been provoked by De Zhuang's desperate training, but after chatting with Zhou Dongwang for a while, He Mengshi left. After He Mengshi left, Zhou Dongwang also prepared to return to his room to train. Zhou Dongwang. Before he could return to his room, Zhou Dongwang heard an enthusiastic voice from behind him. My lover is here. With her a few of her junior sisters in the sect, and they're all very pretty. With your good looks and your martial arts talent, you'll definitely catch their eye. I'm a good friend, aren't I? Such a good thing. I came to look for you immediately. The person who had come was the only son of the Spring Valley head, Lu Lang, a famous spoiled brat of the Lightning Sword sect. As for the lover he had mentioned, it was just a female disciple of a small sect near the Lightning Sword sect, and he changed his lover a few times a year. However, Zhou Dongwang did not even bother with Lu Lang and went back to his room to close the door. Lu Lang did not seem surprised by this. How boring, this guy doesn't seem to be interested in anything. What should I do to make friends with him? Lu Lang had a headache. Ever since Zhou Dongwang had defeated the disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Han Yujing, with one blow in the outer sect arena 2 months ago, Lu Lang had come to the Autumn Valley more frequently. Every time he came, he would try something new. His goal was to strike up a conversation with Zhou Dongwang and even become friends with him. However, Zhou Dongwang completely ignored him. If it had been anyone else, they would have given Lu Lang some face on account of the fact that he was the only son of the Spring Valley head, Lu Fenggu. However, Zhou Dongwang did not give him any face at all. It's still a little slow. The second Dharma power has only just entered the mid-Dharma stage. Sitting cross-legged on the bed, he used his inner vision to look at the green dragon Dharma power that had entered the mid-Dharma stage after the white tiger Dharma power. Zhou Dongwang sighed to himself. Of course, he also knew that this was almost the fastest speed of training. Even in those supreme sects and galaxies, with all sorts of resources for him to use, his progress would not be much faster than it was now. There was a limit to everything. Now, Zhou Dongwang's progress was already close to his current limit. If he increased it any further, both his internal meridians and his energy center would not be able to withstand it. The ZG planet was also a planet in the Honglio galaxy, and its richness was comparable to the Tailao planet where the Lightning Sword sect was located. The Tailao planet had 3 top sects, while the ZG planet only had 2 top sections. Qinghan, you're really amazing. We entered the sect together, and you're already an inner disciple, while I'm still an outer disciple. In the Ultimate Frost sect, one of the 2 top sects in the Violet Pole Star, at one side of the trade plaza, a tall and beautiful woman said to another woman next to her. This girl was even more beautiful than the one who had spoken. Her figure was graceful, and there was not a single flaw to be found on her. And she was Luo Qinghan, who had just entered the Jihan sect a year ago. A year ago, Luo Qinghan and a group of talented adepts from the Tianxian planet of the Luoha galaxy had been brought to the Honglio galaxy by the top sects of the Honglio galaxy. Then, the group of talented adepts from the various galaxies had been divided among the top sects of the Honglio galaxy. As a female disciple, Luo Qinghan had been accepted by the Jihan sect, which had more women than men. In the Jihan sect, the ratio of female to male disciples had always been within 9 to 1, and it could be said that there was more meat than wolves. But even so, with Luo Qinghan's beauty, she was still pursued by many male disciples in the Jihan sect. After Luo Qinghan had entered the Jihan sect, she was recognized as the most beautiful woman in the sect. I was just lucky. Luo Qinghan smiled slightly. Normally, in the Jihan sect, one had to reach the Dharma stage before the age of 30 before they could enter the inner sect. However, the Jihan sect had also set up a test for Golden Essence disciples who were below 30 years old. Anyone who could pass the test would be able to enter the inner sect early and become an inner sect disciple, enjoying the benefits of an inner sect disciple. Of course, after these people became an inner sect disciple, if they had not reached the Dharma stage by the age of 30, they would be mercilessly kicked out of the inner sect. The inner sect of the Jihan sect did not want useless people. In this aspect, it was somewhat similar to the Lightning Sword sect. And in reality, the top sects of the Honglio galaxy basically all use this method. Qinghan, you've long said that you wanted to go home. When do you plan to go back? The girl beside Luo Qinghan asked with a smile. Speaking of which, I haven't been home for a long time. If you decide when to go back, we can go to the nearest galaxy teleport together. I have no such plans at the moment. Luo Qinghan shook her head. However, after parting ways with the girl, on the way back to the inner sect, Luo Qinghan's lips curled into a mocking smile. Do you think I don't know that you have ulterior motives for approaching me? Having been tricked once before, Luo Qinghan had become extremely cautious. Although that outer sect disciple had entered the Jihan sect at the same time as her, the truth was that they were not familiar with each other at first. It was only when the other party had hooked up with the son of an inner sect elder in the Jihan sect that the other party had begun to approach her. After confirming that the girl would not be able to find her, Luo Qinghan left the Jihan sect, her eyes filled with passion and longing. I haven't been home for a long time. I wonder if Father and Granny are doing well, and if my family is doing well. End of this chapter. Chapter 255. The Luaha Galaxy. The Tianxin Planet. Whoosh! A beautiful figure appeared in the galaxy teleporter near the Luo family. It was Luo Qinghan, who had been teleported back from the Ziji planet of the Honglio galaxy. Luo Qinghan had been away from home for 2 whole years. 2 years ago, when I left, I had just entered the ultimate primal core stage. But now my golden essence has already taken on the form of a Dharma power. I have already reached the threshold of the Dharma stage. On the way back to the Luo family, Luo Qinghan's beautiful face revealed a faint smile. If Father and Granny knew about this, they would definitely be shocked. Based on my current progress, entering the Dharma stage before the age of 30 is not difficult for me. Very quickly, Luo Qinghan returned to the Luo family home. The eyes of the patrolling disciples lit up when they saw her. First Mistress is back. First Mistress, congratulations. A few of the patrolling disciples looked at Luo Qinghan with bright smiles on their faces. They were even congratulating her. Congratulations? Luo Qinghan was a little confused. What was going on? She had not been back for 2 years. Could it be that these Luo disciples already knew that she was about to enter the Dharma stage? There was no reason for that. How could they possibly know? First Mistress, don't be shy. The son-in-law has already come to visit a few times. The master is now waiting for you to return so that he can hold your wedding with the son-in-law. An older disciple of the Luo family grinned. Yes. First Mistress, don't be shy. We have already met the son-in-law. The son-in-law is really handsome. He is a match made in heaven for you, First Mistress. Hearing the words of these Luo disciples, Luo Qinghan was dumbfounded. Son-in-law. Her father was waiting for her to return to hold a wedding for her. A match made in heaven? What was going on? What are you all talking about? What son-in-law? What wedding? After a while, Luo Qinghan recovered and asked with a frown. First Mistress, we really already know. You have to admit it. Exactly. Not only does the master like the son-in-law you found for the Luo family, even matriarchally likes him. Luo Qinghan was really speechless. How could she not know that the Luo family had found a son-in-law? Luo Qinghan knew that it would be useless to ask these Luo family juniors, so she decided to ask her father and grandmother directly. Grandma. Luo Qinghan first went to look for her grandmother, old Madame Li and Li Yu. Li Yu had been cultivating in her room, but when she heard Luo Qinghan's voice, she immediately stopped and looked pleasantly surprised. That last Qinghan is back. Pushing open the door, before the smiling Luo Qinghan could open her mouth, Li Yu had already grabbed her by the hand and rushed her out. Grandma, where are you taking me? Luo Qinghan was confused. Was this really her grandmother? Why did she feel more like a human trafficker, dragging her away without saying a word? Go find your father. Li Yu said. Look for my father? Just as Luo Qinghan was still in a daze, Li Yu had already brought her to Luo Wuchen's room. Luo Wuchen, Qinghan is back. Regardless of whether Luo Wuchen was cultivating in seclusion or not, Li Yu shouted anxiously. Bang! A loud sound rang out, and it was the head of the Luo family, Luo Wuchen, who had burst through the door, his expression wild with joy. Qinghan is back. When he saw Luo Qinghan, his face broke into a radiant smile. Qinghan, you are very good, very good. I never thought that the one who would lead the Luo family to greatness would be you. Qinghan, since you are back, I should go to the Lightning Sword sect on the Tailao planet of the Honglio Galaxy to find Dongwang and get him to come back and marry you. As Luo Wuchen spoke, he was about to walk out. Wait, just as Luo Wuchen was about to leave, Luo Qinghan finally regained her senses. Father, Grandma, what is going on? Why are all of you acting so strangely? Marry? Who do you want me to marry? And who is Dongwang? Now, Luo Qinghan finally knew why the Luo family juniors had congratulated her. It was all because of her father. Little girl, just as Luo Wuchen stopped in his tracks, before he could speak, Li Yu had already said with a smile, He is the young man you met when you were teleported to the Ziyun planet through the galaxy teleporter. He came to look for you almost a year ago. He said he wanted to marry you and even gave you a betrothal gift. Your father has already accepted the betrothal gift. Li Yu smiled. So now you have a fiancé, do you know? Grandma, are you talking about that Zhou Dongwang from the Ziyun planet? Luo Qinghan's eyes widened in disbelief. When she had met that young man on the Ziyun planet, she had been an early primal core adept, but he was only a chi-gathering adept who had not even achieved petty consummation of the chi-gathering. Now, her grandma was telling her that the young man had come to look for her almost a year ago, and he had even given her a betrothal gift, and her father had accepted it? It's him. Li Yu nodded. How is that possible? Luo Qinghan shook her head in disbelief. 8 years ago, he was only a chi-gathering adept. How could he have found his way to the Tianxin planet of the Loa Galaxy? The planet he was on, and even the galaxy he was in, did not have a galaxy teleporter. If you want to leave that planet, he would have to be at least an early primal core adept. Did someone bring him here? Luo Qinghan looked at Li Yu and Luo Wuchen, her eyes filled with doubt. Qinghan, no one brought Dongwang here. He came here on his own. Don't underestimate Dongwang. Almost a year ago, when he came to look for us, he was already a golden essence adept. A few months ago, when he came again, he was already at the Dharma stage. At this point, Luo Wuchen seemed to have thought of something, and an almost imperceptible look of embarrassment flashed across his face. The last time Zhou Dongwang had come to the Luo family and found out that Zhou Dongwang was already a Dharma adept, Luo Wuchen, who had just reached the late Dharma stage, had said that he wanted to give Zhou Dongwang some pointers. But in the end, Zhou Dongwang had given him pointers. Zhou Dongwang had used his mid-Dharma stage White Tiger Dharma power to battle Luo Wuchen's late Dharma power and defeated him within 10 moves. This was because Luo Wuchen had already switched to the technique of everlasting youth, and his Dharma power had very few flaws. However, because Luo Wuchen had not yet mastered the Dermic possession technique, he had still lost to Zhou Dongwang. Otherwise, even if he could not defeat Zhou Dongwang, who had incredible battle experience, he would at least be able to fight Zhou Donghuang to a draw. Almost a year ago, Golden Essence Adept? A few months ago, Dharma Stage? Father, are you sure you're not talking in your sleep? Luo Qinghan was stunned for a moment before she glared at Luo Wuchen, clearly not believing her father's words. Me? Talking in my sleep? Only then did Luo Wuchen realize that his daughter did not believe him at all. Qinghan, I'm not talking in my sleep. I'm telling the truth. At this point, Luo Wuchen looked at Liu pleadingly. Mother-in-law, can you tell Qinghan did I lie to her? Liu smiled and said, Qinghan, although your father is usually unreliable, he did not lie to you about this. That child, Donghuang, not only has he entered the Dharma stage, the last time he came back, your father said that he wanted to give him some pointers and sparred with him, and he ended up being the one who taught him. That child only used a dozen or so moves to defeat your father. Liyu's words were even more exaggerated than Luo Wuchen's, causing Luo Qinghan to be stunned once again. She could not wrap her head around it. As Luo Wuchen smiled bitterly, Liu continued, Yes, when your father was defeated by that child, Donghuang, he was already at the late Dharma stage. If Liu's earlier words were already frightening enough to Luo Qinghan, then what she said next scared her even more. However, when Liu's words fell into Luo Qinghan's ears, Luo Qinghan was so frightened that her pupils contracted rapidly, and her pretty face instantly changed color. That kid is a freak. At this time, Luo Wuchen cursed. He's only at the mid-Dharma stage, but he can actually defeat me, a late Dharma adept. Although I've only just entered the late Dharma stage, my abilities are already stronger than Uncle's. However, I still lost him. That kid, I'm his father-in-law, and he doesn't even know how to give in to me? Qinghan, you have to discipline your man and learn to respect his elders. As he said this, Luo Wuchen became a little angry again. Luo Wuchen's uncle was one of the two late Dharma adepts of the Luo family, the other person besides Liu. At the same time, he was one of the two pillars of the Luo family. And now, after Luo Wuchen and Liu had switched to the deity-level technique, the technique of everlasting youth, they had both achieved breakthroughs. Luo Wuchen had entered the late Dharma stage, and Liu was getting closer and closer to the ultimate Dharma stage. She was confident that she would be able to break through within a few years. Father, don't say anything first. Luo Qinghan slumped weakly in front of the stone table in the courtyard. She held onto the stone table with one hand and rubbed her temples with the other. I want some time alone. Whether it was her grandmother Liu's words or her father Luo Wuchen's words, they were all too much of shock to her. 8 years ago, he was just a young man at the Qi gathering stage. Now, he had actually grown to such a stage. Was he even human? Luo Qinghan was clear that her father might have lied to her, but her grandmother would definitely not lie to her, let alone collude with her father to lie to her. Therefore, all of this should be true, and it was precisely because of this that she was shocked. Qinghan, I know that you have too many doubts and disbelief in your heart, but this is the truth. Liu also knew what her granddaughter was thinking and explained to her at the right time. Do you still remember what grandmother told you? The reason why your innate talent underwent such a drastic change was most likely because of that one night with Donghuang. That is the truth. The reason why Donghuang's level of practice was low when he met you was because he only started training when he was almost 17 years old. In just a short year, no matter how talented he was, he could not have reached the Khanate stage or even the Primal Core stage, right? End of this chapter. Chapter 256. Donghuang's bloodline is noble, and his martial arts talent far surpasses yours, which is why your talent has improved so much. Liu said to Luo Qinghan seriously. Donghuang also said that he was entrusted by his biological father to the Ziyun planet of the Kaiyuan galaxy. His birth parents must be extremely powerful existences to be able to give birth to him with his noble bloodline. Although you have your current talent because of him, compared to him, you definitely can't compare. At this point, Liu's gaze softened. Qinghan, Granny wants to know what you think. Donghuang has said that he will take responsibility for you, and because of this, he has given your father a betrothal gift, which your father has accepted. Liu's words caused Luo Qinghan's expression to change, and she did not reply for a long time. Finally, she looked at Luo Wuchen. Father, You did not even ask if I agreed to marry him. Why did you accept his betrothal gift? Quickly return the betrothal gift to him. I did not want to become someone's fiancé without even knowing why. Luo Qinghan said. Luo Wuchen and Liu looked at each other at Luo Qinghan's words. After a moment, Luo Wuchen smiled bitterly and said, My dear daughter, I can't return it. Dong Wang is handsome, responsible, and talented. Not only is there no one in the Luoha galaxy who is more outstanding than him, but there is also no one in the Honglio galaxy who is more outstanding than him. It is your good fortune to be able to marry him. Luo Wuchen said. Father, what kind of drug did he give you to make you speak up for him? Luo Qinghan asked with a frown. Without waiting for Luo Wuchen to speak, Luo Qinghan looked at Liu and said, Granny, tell father to return the betrothal gift to him. Girl. Liu also smiled bitterly. That betrothal gift, there is really no way to return it. I don't agree with the other things your father says, but I agree 100, 1,000, 10,000 times with what he said today. Dong Wang is a good child, and it is his good fortune to be able to marry him. Little girl, you must believe me. I won't harm you. The moment Liu spoke, Luo Qinghan felt a wave of helplessness in her heart. What kind of spell had Zhou Dongwang fed the two people she cared about the most? Grandma, I know you won't harm me. Luo Qinghan's expression was solemn as she said, However, marriage is an important matter. How can it be taken lightly? Although I had an accident with Zhou Dongwang, I can't marry him because of that. Luo Qinghan, am not such a loose person. The betrothal gifts he gave to our Luo family must be returned. As she spoke, Luo Qinghan's voice became much louder, and her attitude was very firm. He was the betrothal gift he gave to me, so I have the right to reject it. Qinghan, there's no way to retreat. Luo Wuchen smiled bitterly and said, Dongwang's betrothal gift is a technique. Now, both your grandmother and I are practicing that technique. How do you expect me to back out? Cultivation method? Luo Qinghan frowned. A technique that could make her father and her grandmother switch to practicing had to be even better than the one they had been practicing before. Taking a deep breath, Luo Qinghan said in a low voice, I am now an inner disciple of the Jihan sect, one of the top sects in the Honglio galaxy. In the future, I will also have the chance to obtain a technique from the Jihan sect that can be passed on to outsiders. I can promise him that I will return another technique to him in the future. Luo Qinghan said, Qinghan, do you think that the technique he gave the Luo family was only slightly stronger than ours? Although he had never heard of the Jihan sect, Luo Wuchen had a general idea of the top sects in the Honglio galaxy. In those sects, not to mention ordinary techniques, even the core techniques were far inferior to the technique of everlasting youth that his son-in-law had given him. The technique of everlasting youth was a top immortal technique that could be practiced all the way to the ultimate immortal stage. Ultimate immortal adepts were all existences that stood at the pinnacle of the boundless universe. Each of them had the terrifying power to destroy planets with a wave of their hands and swallow entire galaxies with their mouths. Is that not the case? Luo Qinghan had a bad premonition in her heart. The technique that he gave us is a Divan-level technique, and it is a top immortal technique that can be practiced all the way to the ultimate immortal stage. Luo Wuchen said in a low voice, You should know what a top immortal technique is, right? From what I know, the top sects in the Honglio galaxy each basically only have one divine transformation technique, and it is only a low-level divine transformation technique. Normally, one can only practice it up to the early divine transformation stage. Only the two transcendental forces in the Honglio galaxy have techniques that are above the mid-level divine transformation stage. Although he had never been to the Honglio galaxy, because his daughter had gone to the Honglio galaxy, Luo Wuchen had specially gone to the Honglio galaxy in the past 2 years to understand some things about the Honglio galaxy. As soon as Luo Wuchen said this, Luo Qinghan was once again stunned. A Divan-level technique? And it was a top immortal technique? Naturally, she knew that the higher the level, the more valuable the technique was. In the Honglio galaxy, a mid-level divine transformation technique was a rare treasure. The Jihan sect's signature technique was only a low-level divine transformation technique that her father had mentioned. After the divine transformation stage is the separating divinity, and after the separating divinity stage is the immortal stage. Top immortal techniques are only available to some of the top sects in the galaxy. Just then, Liu added, "Actually, even if Liu did not say it, Luo Qinghan also knew what the words top immortal technique represented. It represented almost all the top techniques in the universe. Perhaps it was not one of the top techniques, but it was definitely one of the top techniques. He gave me a top immortal technique as a betrothal gift. You want to marry me?" Luo Qinghan's heart skipped a beat. At this moment, even she could feel the man's sincerity. However, she really could not understand. Why was he so willing to give it to her? Was it because of that accident? After a moment, Luo Qinghan took a deep breath and looked at Luo Wuchen. "Father, I want to see him." The betrothal gift that he had given her was too valuable, and she could not return it to him. It was so heavy that she could barely breathe. However, this matter had to be resolved. She wanted to see him again to see how this matter would be resolved. "All right, I'll bring him back," Luo Wuchen replied. "Father, I'll go with you. Didn't you say that he is also in the Honglio galaxy? In the Lightning Sword sect on the Tailao planet of the Honglio galaxy? I know the Lightning Sword sect. It is also one of the top sects in the Honglio galaxy," Luo Qinghan said. Immediately after, Luo Wuchen brought Luo Qinghan through the galaxy teleporter and arrived near the Lightning Sword sect on the Tailao planet of the Honglio galaxy. Then, the two of them prepared to go to the Lightning Sword sect to look for Zhou Dongwang. "Who are you? Why are you here at the Lightning Sword sect?" Just as the two of them neared the Lightning Sword sect, they were stopped by a few disciples who were patrolling the area. Two of the young disciples saw Luo Qinghan, and their eyes lit up. In the Lightning Sword sect, there was no female disciple as beautiful as her. "Everyone, I'm the father-in-law of Zhou Dongwang, an inner disciple of the sect. I have brought his fiancée here to look for him. I think he told me that he is in the Autumn Valley of the inner sect," Luo Wuchen asked politely. Although he was now a late Dharma adept, he knew that his level of practice was nothing in the Lightning Sword sect. In fact, he could not even be an ordinary outer sect elder. Because of this, even though the patrolling disciples in front of him might not be as powerful as him, he did not dare to underestimate them. This was because he had the Lightning Sword sect, a powerful entity, behind him. Luo Qinghan did not expect her father to introduce her as Zhou Donghuang's fiancée. Before she could do anything, she heard a series of gasps. "Zhou Donghuang, junior brother Donghuang's father-in-law? This is junior brother Donghuang's fiancée?" The patrolling disciples of the Lightning Sword sect were all outer disciples, and they had personally witnessed how Zhou Donghuang had fought for the Lightning Sword sect's reputation in the face of adversity. He had defeated the Thunder Knife sect's genius disciple, who was said to be one in 100 years. After that battle, most of the outer disciples were shocked by Zhou Donghuang, including these patrolling disciples. After knowing Luo Qinghan's identity, the two outer disciples who had been staring at her because of her good looks hurriedly looked away and did not dare to look at her again. "So it is junior brother Donghuang's father-in-law and fiancé. Both of you, please come in. I will bring you to the Autumn Valley to look for junior brother Donghuang." The middle-aged man who was the leader of the outer disciples came forward enthusiastically and said to Luo Wuchen and Luo Qinghan. Luo Qinghan was not the only one who was surprised by his enthusiasm. Even Luo Wuchen was surprised. Luo Qinghan's eyes were filled with shock and uncertainty. She could not imagine that Zhou Donghuang had only entered the Lightning Sword sect for a short period of time. How was it that the patrolling disciples of the Lightning Sword sect were so respectful to him? It was only when the outer disciple who had led them there excitedly told them about the battle between Zhou Donghuang and the genius disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Han Yujing, that they finally understood why the patrolling disciples of the Lightning Sword sect were so respectful to Zhou Donghuang. That genius disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Han Yujing, is said to be one in 100 years of martial arts prodigy on the Tai Lao planet. He must be a very talented person, Luo Wuchen said. Isn't that right? The outer sect disciple laughed and said, he's only 24 years old, and he's already at the mid-Dharma stage. However, his talent and training is already astonishing. Most importantly, the only mid-Dharma core disciple of our lightning sword sect could not even withstand 3 blows from him. At that time, everyone thought that the lightning sword sect was going to lose to the thunder knife sect in that sparring match between mid-Dharma adepts. That was until junior brother Dong Wang made his move, and with just one move, he defeated that lad. In fact, before he fought, junior brother Dong Wang even said that if he could not defeat his opponent in one move, he would lose. Now that I think about it, junior brother Dong Wang was really too domineering. As the outer disciple spoke, he was especially excited. End of this chapter. Chapter 257. Hearing the words of the outer sect disciple, Luo Wuchen looked at his daughter with a smug look on his face, as if to say, "Look how outstanding the husband I found for you is." However, Luo Qinghan was now in a daze. She had heard of the genius disciple of the Thunder Knife sect on the Tai Lao planet, even in the Jihan sect on the Ziji planet. Han Yujing was a 24-year-old mid-Dharma adept, and he was the top adept in the Thunder Knife sect below the late Dharma stage. Most late Dharma adepts could only fight him to a draw. Such a stunning figure, and a man at that, was also a hot topic of discussion among the female disciples of the Jihan sect, where there were too many women and too few men. Although Luo Qinghan was not as infatuated as the other female disciples, she was still amazed by the martial talent of the Thunder Knife sect's genius disciple. He's only 24 this year, right? He defeated Han Yujing with one move? Luo Qinghan was stunned. She had never imagined that the young man she had pinned down so many years ago would have grown to such an extent. However, when she thought of what happened in the past, her gaze became a little evasive, and an imperceptible blush appeared on her beautiful cheeks. Both of you, the Autumn Valley is just up ahead. The outer sect disciple brought Luo Wuchen and Luo Qinghan to the Autumn Valley and asked where Zhou Dongwang was staying. Outer sect disciple, Tang Hai, requests to see brother Dongwang. The outer sect disciple stood outside Zhou Dongwang's room and greeted him respectfully. Although Tang Hai was also a mid-Dharma adept, he knew that he was no match for Zhou Dongwang. Even if he reached the late Dharma stage, he might not be Zhou Dongwang's match. Because of this, even though Zhou Dongwang was young and had joined the sect late, he was still very humble. Outer sect disciple, Zhou Dongwang, who was practicing in his room, could not help but be surprised when he heard Tang Hai's voice. Why is he looking for me? Puzzled, Zhou Dongwang walked out of his room. With just one glance, he saw 2 familiar figures standing behind an unfamiliar middle-aged man. One of them was his future father-in-law, Luo Wuchen. The other person was just as young and beautiful as she had been 7 years ago, as if she had been frozen in time. It was Luo Qinghan, whom he could not help but think of when he was free. Junior brother Dongwang, they said they were looking for you. Seeing Zhou Dongwang come out, Tang Hai's eyes lit up, and he landed on the ground with a bright smile on his face. Thank you. With Zhou Dongwang's nod, Tang Hai also understood that there was no problem with the identities of the 2 people he had brought, so he bade farewell and left. Of course, before he left, he once again tactfully repeated that he was an outer sect disciple, Tang Hai, as if deeply afraid that Zhou Dongwang did not know who he was. Ah, Dongwang, when you went to the Luo family to look for me, I didn't hear you mention anything about defeating the so-called genius disciple of the Thunder Knife sect in 100 years. You really hit it well. Luo Wuchen laughed heartily as he walked forward and patted Zhou Dongwang's shoulder. They were very familiar with each other, and those who did not know better would have thought that they were father and son. Of course, Luo Wuchen added in his heart, if I had known that you were so King powerful, being able to defeat the strongest mid-Dharma adept in the Thunder Knife sect with a single blow, I would not have tried to teach you that day. Father-in-law, Zhou Dongwang smiled as he greeted him, then shook his head and said, it was just a small matter I would have forgotten if you had not mentioned it. Haha. If that was a small matter, then what comes next should be a big matter, right? Luo Wuchen laughed again, then moved to the side. As he laughed, he looked at Luo Qinghan, who was still standing in the air not far away, and waved at her. Qinghan, why aren't you coming over to meet your husband? Father, I have not acknowledged this marriage yet. Luo Qinghan frowned slightly, and after retorting, she landed in front of Zhou Donghuang, looking at him with a complicated expression. She had originally thought that it was at most a one-night stand, but she did not expect that he would come knocking on her door. Furthermore, he had given her father such an exaggerated betrothal gift. Even if she wanted to retreat now, she could not. Are you all right? Although Zhou Donghuang had lived for 1,000 years in his previous life, he was still very ignorant about the matters between men and women. Seeing this woman who he often missed, he forced a smile and asked with some embarrassment. I'm all right. Zhou Donghuang was embarrassed, and Luo Qinghan was naturally embarrassed as well, especially now that she was in the wrong. If you have no objections, then let's settle the matter of our marriage. After the marriage is settled, I will bring you back to the Ziyun planet to meet my mother and my sister. Secretly taking a deep breath, Zhou Donghuang suppressed the palpitations in his heart. Feeling nervous, he went straight to the point and said, as for the wedding, you can hold it on the Tianxin planet or the Ziyun planet if you want. He felt that even if there was a mighty adept of the deity's tribulation standing in front of him now, he would definitely not be this nervous. It is better to hold it on the Tianxin planet and the Ziyun planet respectively. Before Luo Qinghan could speak, Luo Wuchen had already said this with a smile, obviously very concerned about this matter. Luo Qinghan glared at him, then looked at Zhou Donghuang and said, I can feel your sincerity towards me, and I am very touched. I admit that I have feelings for you, but it has not reached the stage where we are talking about marriage. What happened 7 years ago was an accident. You don't have to feel guilty towards me. If you think that you're worried that I will get together with another man and cause you to feel unhappy, then you can rest assured. Here, I can promise you that even if I, Luo Qinghan, die, I will never be with another man other than you. In my eyes, marriage is an important matter, not a child's play. I only want to marry the person I want to marry. Of course, the betrothal gift you gave my father is too expensive, and I am afraid that I will never be able to return that betrothal gift. If you insist on marrying me, due to the pressure from my father and my grandmother, coupled with the sacrifices you have made for me, I can give in. But if you do that, I will feel uncomfortable. Even if you have me, you will only have my body, not my heart. Furthermore, we only met once back then, and we did not spend much time together. Do you really like me? Or is it because you only want to be responsible for me? If you only want to be responsible for me, you don't have to. After all, what happened back then was not what we wanted, so you don't have to feel guilty. That's all I have to say. Luo Qinghan spoke very seriously, but Luo Wuchen, who was standing at the side, looked anxious. He then looked at Zhou Donghuang and said, Good son-in-law, feelings can be nurtured slowly after marriage. Don't have any ulterior motives just because of what this girl said. Luo Wuchen was scared, really scared. If such a good son-in-law ran away, where else could he find him? Father, can you be quieter? Luo Qinghan felt helpless. Was this really her biological father? Not only was he not on her side, but he was also not even maintaining a neutral stance, and he was even going to stand on the opposite side. At the same time, under the gaze of Luo Wuchen and Luo Qinghan, Zhou Donghuang, who had been calm and composed, suddenly smiled. This smile was somewhat unfathomable to the two of them. I'm sorry. Zhou Donghuang looked at Luo Qinghan and sighed. I never thought that this matter would give you so much pressure and cause you so much trouble. After hearing your words, I thought about it. It was indeed presumptuous of me to come here and propose marriage. As for me, the reason why I want to marry you is indeed because I want to be responsible for you, to the point that I will not allow any other man to touch you. That betrothal gift, as well as this core medicine, will be my apology for my presumptuous actions this time. Regarding what happened between us, you can just treat it as a farce and let it end here. In the future, Between us, let fate decide everything." As Zhou Dongwang said this, he took out a small core medicine bottle from his space ring, which contained a single developing pill. "There's no need to apologize." Luo Qinghan did not expect Zhou Donghuang to say this, and for a moment, she felt an inexplicable emptiness in her heart. But on the surface, she shook her head. "That technique, I promise that my father and granny will not pass it on to a third person. Even I will not practice that technique. Since both my father and granny have practiced the technique you gave them, coupled with the fact that I have no way of returning you a similar technique, all I can do is for you. I will not be close to any other man. I will remain chaste for you for the rest of my life." As soon as she said this, Luo Qinghan took a deep breath and calmed herself down. She looked at Luo Wuchen and said, "Father, let's go back. I have something to say to you and Granny." "Wait." At this time, Zhou Dongwang stopped Luo Wuchen. "You, Chief Luo, I have something to say to you. Let's talk in private." "All right." Hearing Zhou Dongwang change the way he addressed him, Luo Wuchen smiled bitterly. Was he going to miss out on such a good son-in-law in the end? He really could not understand. What was that girl thinking? She had missed out on such a good man, just like that. Furthermore, she had even said that if she missed out on this man, she would not marry for the rest of her life. How could he have given birth to such a daughter? "Father, I will wait for you outside the Autumn Valley." Luo Qinghan bade farewell to Luo Wuchen and rose into the air. Before she left, she warned Luo Wuchen, "Do not take anything from him again." After Luo Qinghan left, Luo Wuchen looked at Zhou Dongwang awkwardly and said, "Dongwang, regarding this matter, I am sorry. The technique that you gave me after mother-in-law and I memorized it, we destroyed it. We promised not to pass it on to anyone else." Luo Wuchen had always been a straightforward person. If Zhou Dongwang could become his son-in-law, then they would be family and there would be no difference between them. But now his daughter had ruined everything, and he was in a bad spot. At the same time, he regretted accepting the betrothal gift in the first place. But since his daughter insisted on it, there was nothing he could do. He could not possibly break her legs, could he? End of this chapter. Chapter 258. Dongwang, the Luo family will do our best to make it up to you. Luo Wuchen's face was full of remorse. He really hoped that the marriage between his daughter and the young man in front of him would go through. Besides the fact that his daughter had already lost her chastity to him, the fact that Zhou Donghuang had come to propose marriage showed that he was a responsible person. A person like that was worthy of his daughter's life. Furthermore, besides his sense of responsibility, Zhou Donghuang was also outstanding. Not just in the Luoha Galaxy, where the Luo family was located, but even in the Hongliu Galaxy, which was superior to the Luoha Galaxy, he would be one of the best. If he missed out on such a son-in-law, where would he find another one? "There's no need." Zhou Dongwang shook his head. "I asked you to stay behind not because I want to reap any benefits. I just want to give this elixir to you." As he spoke, Zhou Dongwang handed the elixir bottle that he had taken out earlier to Luo Wuchen. This elixir was prepared for her in the first place. "No matter what happens between us in the future, please accept this elixir. As for how you're going to give it to her, you can come up with any excuse you want." Dongwang. Luo Wuchen felt even more guilty now. "There's no need. You've already given us more than enough. You gave us an elixir that can help Dharma adepts in their practice, and now you're giving us a deity-level technique. We can't take anything else from you." Chief Luo, although there's only one elixir in this bottle, this elixir is enough for her to enter the Dharma stage in just half a year. As soon as Zhou Dongwang said this, Luo Wuchen's eyes widened in disbelief. A single elixir would allow his daughter to enter the Dharma stage in half a year? "Keep it." Zhou Dongwang smiled lightly. "In the end, our relationship might not be doomed. This elixir is of great help to her. Without this elixir, she would have to waste at least a few years to enter the Dharma stage." Luo Wuchen had originally wanted to decline, but after hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, he hesitated. After all, this elixir, according to Zhou Donghuang, was enough to affect his daughter's future as a parent, which parent did not wish for their son or daughter to become a dragon or a phoenix? Finally, Luo Wuchen accepted the elixir from Zhou Dongwang. It was a developing elixir, be it Zhou Dongwang or De Zhuang. The reason why they were able to advance from the ultimate primal core stage to the Dharma stage in such a short period of time was because they had consumed the developing elixir. Yes, after you take this pill, you must use the spirit gathering formation that I passed you earlier. Try to use as many tens of thousands of medium spirit stones as you can to set it up for cultivation. Zhou Dongwang continued. Although Luo Wuchen knew how to set up a spirit gathering array in the past, the spirit gathering array that he had set up was a relatively low-grade one. It could only consume a few thousand mid-grade spirit stones or 10,000 low-grade spirit stones at the same time, and it had limited effects on cultivation. After that, Zhou Dongwang passed on to him the method to set up an advanced energy gathering formation. Dongwang. Luo Wuchen looked at Zhou Dongwang sternly. No matter what that girl Qinghan thinks or does, I, Luo Wuchen, will recognize you as my son-in-law. In the future, if you need me or the Luo family to do anything for you, just say the word, and the Luo family and I will do our best to help you. Luo Wuchen felt even more guilty now that he had accepted Zhou Donghuang's offer. In the future, you can come to the Luo family as a guest at any time. The Luo family will always welcome you. You can even stay here for a long time. Luo Wuchen continued. Thank you, Chief Luo. Zhou Donghuang smiled slightly. Now there's nothing else. Chief Luo, please take your daughter back. All right. Luo Wuchen nodded. Before he left, he intentionally revealed a piece of information to Duan Ling Tian. Dongwang, that girl Qinghan has now entered the top sect of the Honglio Galaxy's Ziji planet, the Jihan sect. Didn't that girl say that she has no feelings for you now? In the future, you two should interact more, and she will naturally realize how good you are. If the two of you are really together, I, Luo Wuchen, will definitely hold a grand wedding for the two of you. Luo Wuchen said confidently. After Luo Wuchen left, Zhou Donghuang shook his head, and the smile on his face deepened. What a stubborn girl. However, through this incident, it is not difficult to see that she is not the kind of girl who is greedy for fame and glory, nor is she obsessed with seeking connections. Although Luo Qinghan had rejected his proposal of marriage today, he was not angry. Not only was he not angry, but he was actually quite happy. This was because this was enough to show Luo Qinghan's character. If the two transcendental forces of the Honglio Galaxy were to see everything that he had displayed in front of Luo Qinghan, those two transcendental forces would definitely not be able to hold themselves back and would send their most outstanding women to his bed. However, all of this had been rejected by Luo Qinghan. Ziji planet, Jihan sect? Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed. We will meet again. In his previous life, Zhou Donghuang did not have much of a concept of women. The only concept he had was that the great clans and supreme sects of the galaxy all wanted to marry off their clan or sect's proud daughters to him, so that they could form a relationship with him and make him an elder, or something like that. In this, there were too many entanglements of interests. This time, if Luo Qinghan had immediately agreed to his proposal of marriage and wanted nothing more than to get close to him, he would have looked down on Luo Qinghan to a certain extent. He would have thought that Luo Qinghan was purely interested in the various benefits that he could bring to her and the Luo family. Now, at least he could see that Luo Qinghan was not someone who would sell herself for benefits. On the other side, after Luo Wuchen left Zhou Donghuang's place, he left the Autumn Valley and met up with Luo Qinghan. Then, they left the Lightning Sword sect together and used the nearby galaxy teleporter to teleport back to the Tianxin planet of the Luo Galaxy. On the way back to the Luo family, Luo Qinghan could not help but ask, "Father, what did he say when he asked you to stay?" "Nothing much." Luo Wuchen sighed. "He told me that I don't need to feel guilty because of the betrothal gift he gave me. What a good kid. He was rejected by you in such a way, but he still thinks that I won't feel guilty. Say, such a good son-in-law. If I miss him this time, where will I find another one in the future?" As he spoke, Luo Wuchen's face was full of regret. Naturally, he could not tell the truth. If he told the truth, Based on his daughter's personality, she would definitely not accept Zhou Donghuang's good intentions. Luo Qinghan was silent for a moment before she said, "Father, I know you are very disappointed. When we get home and Granny finds out about this, she will definitely be disappointed too. But I really have no other choice. I admit that he is very outstanding, and if I were to be with him, it would only be beneficial to me. But if you want me to be with another man because of this, I really cannot do it. I, Luo Qinghan, have my own bottom line. Let's not talk about me. Let's talk about Mother. I heard from Granny that among the group of talented young men who chased after Mother, there were many whose family backgrounds and talents were better than yours. But Mother did not date those with the best family backgrounds and talents. Instead, she chose you, who she truly liked. Of course, I definitely do not have the luck that Mother has, because I will remember, even if I am not fated to be with Zhou Donghuang in the end, just because he taught you and Granny the deity-level technique, I will not do anything to make him unhappy." Luo Qinghan had already decided that in this lifetime, she would never come into contact with another man again. As for Zhou Donghuang, perhaps they would never meet again in the future. Actually, Luo Qinghan was very clear that she had some feelings for Zhou Donghuang. After all, he was her first man, and he was the only man who had been on good terms with her so far. If Zhou Donghuang was just an ordinary, grassroots genius, and they were fated to meet again, she would be willing to try to get closer to him and see if they could be together. However, Zhou Donghuang was not some grassroots genius, but someone who seemed to have a very impressive background. He could casually take out a deity-level technique as a betrothal gift and hand it over to her father. He was only 24 years old, but he was already a mid-Dharma adept, and his abilities were even stronger than her father, Luo Wuchen, who was already at the late Dharma stage. One had to know that her father had already switched to a deity-level technique, and even though he had just reached the late Dharma stage, he would probably be hard-pressed to find a worthy opponent among all the late Dharma adepts on the Tianxian planet, or even the entire Luoha galaxy. But he had been defeated by Zhou Donghuang, who was only at the mid-Dharma stage. What did this mean? It meant that although Zhou Donghuang was only a mid-Dharma adept, his abilities had already surpassed most late Dharma adepts. Such an existence was extremely rare even in the Honglio galaxy, let alone in the Luoha galaxy, or even in other galaxies with more adepts. Although she did not want to admit it, she had to admit it. She was ashamed of her own inferiority. The more outstanding Zhou Donghuang was, the more distant she felt that they were. Under such circumstances, she had become much more sensitive. She had even decided to avoid meeting Zhou Donghuang as much as possible in the future, so that time would wash away everything. With his talent and foundation, he will definitely meet a better woman in the future, and when that time comes, he will not take me seriously anymore. Perhaps in the future, I will only exist as a memory that he will occasionally think of when he is free. This time, when I return to the Luo family, I will accompany Father and Granny for a few days, then return to the Jihan sect to train hard. I owe him too much, and the only thing I can repay him is my loyalty to him. Before Luo Qinghan returned to the Jihan sect, Luo Wuchen still could not think of a good way to let Luo Qinghan consume the developing elixir that Zhou Donghuang had given her. In the end, he had no choice but to mix it in Luo Qinghan's food. For this, he had put in a lot of effort to conceal the elixir's smell, deeply afraid that Luo Qinghan would discover it. Just like that, Luo Qinghan left the Luo family, left the Tianxian planet, and left the Luoha galaxy. Before returning to the Jihan sect on the Ziji planet of the Honglio galaxy, her body also carried the effects of the ancient, developing elixir. What? Chapter 259. Autumn came and went. Unknowingly, Zhou Donghuang had been in the Lightning Sword sect for 2 whole years. In these 2 years, the Lightning Sword sect had been peaceful, and Zhou Donghuang had gradually become an old man in the Autumn Valley of the Lightning Sword sect. Zhou Donghuang had been in the Autumn Valley for 2 years, and in these 2 years, the Autumn Valley had accepted a new batch of disciples. They were all outer disciples who had entered the Dharma stage before the age of 30. However, although Zhou Dongwang had become an old man in the Autumn Valley, he was still the youngest in the Autumn Valley. He was 26 years old. In the Autumn Valley, although there were golden essence adepts before the age of 30, they were all older than Zhou Dongwang. In these 2 years, there were also some ultimate primal core Autumn Valley disciples who had not entered the Dharma stage before the age of 30 and were expelled from the Autumn Valley. It's still very difficult. For Zhou Dongwang, there were no obstacles in the way of improving his level of practice because of the accumulation from his previous life. Now, Zhou Dongwang found it difficult because he was studying the later stages of the Lord of the Four Supremes. When he first started practicing the Lord of the Four Supremes, he already knew that he could only reach the ultimate primordial soul stage at most. If he wanted to enter the divine transformation stage, he would have to study and study it on his own. In the past year, besides practicing and occasionally leaving the Autumn Valley to wander around the Lightning Sword sect, Zhou Dongwang spent his free time studying the Lord of the Four Supremes to reach the divine transformation stage. Until now, he had not found anything. Forget it. I should focus on breaking through to the primordial soul stage first, then figure out the later stages of the Lord of the Four Supremes. Perhaps I will have a better idea when the time comes. At this thought, Zhou Dongwang opened his eyes and walked out of his room. He subconsciously turned his head in the direction of Da Zhuang's residence. Now, the sky above Da Zhuang's residence was not peaceful. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Boom! Kaboom! The sound of swords whistling, as well as the sound of mountains collapsing, immediately attracted Zhou Dongwang's attention. Are they sparring again? In the past year, whenever his third senior sister, Mengxi, was free, she would look for De Zhuang to spar with her. Of course, it was only after De Zhuang had entered the mid-Dharma stage that he began sparring with De Zhuang. Now, as far as Zhou Dongwang knew, the number of times they had sparred was no less than 30, and each time they were evenly matched. De Zhuang was very satisfied and happy. He was actually able to fight to a draw with his senior sister. This meant that he would be able to protect his senior sister in the future. But Mengxi was very dissatisfied and unhappy. In the past, this blockhead strength was far inferior to hers, but now he was able to fight her to a draw without her risking her life. Who? Zhou Dongwang stepped into the air, and in the blink of an eye, he was in the air, watching the two figures fighting from afar. Mengxi's Dharma power was still the Great Sword Dharma power, but when the Great Sword Dharma power launched an attack, the sword aura split into dozens of sword auras that swept towards the 3-meter-tall young man. On the other hand, the young man's entire body was burning with raging flames, and around the flames were clearly visible bolts of lightning. He threw a punch, and the sound of air exploding rang out, suppressing the dozens of sword rays that were coming at him. After a moment, the sword rays exploded again, attacking him from all directions. At this time, the thunder and fire Dharma power on his body retracted, as if it had condensed into a suit of armor that protected him. No matter how the sword rays whistled through the air, he forcefully withstood them. His body only trembled slightly. De Zhuang's reaction speed is much faster than before. It seems that the increase in his level of practice and the broadening of his horizons have also made his slightly slow mind much more agile, Zhou Dongwang thought to himself. Seeing this, Zhou Dongwang thought to himself, Enough, enough. De Zhuang, this turtle shell of yours is too hard. Unless I pay the price of being seriously injured and fight you to the death, I will not be able to break through your defense at all. Mengxi retracted her hand, and the great sword Dharma power retracted. Then, she said to the 3-meter-tall big man somewhat gloomily. The big man laughed and scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. Then, he glanced into the distance, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Little brother. Because Mengxi's back was facing Zhou Dongwang, her reaction was much slower than Zhou Dongwang's. It was only when she turned around that she saw Zhou Dongwang. Third sister. The moment he saw Mengxi, Zhou Dongwang's gaze softened, and a look of respect appeared in his eyes. After experiencing the memories of his past life, this third sister was both a sister and a mother to him. Little brother, Why don't you spar with me and Zhuang at the same time today? In the past, Yimengshi had taken the initiative to invite Zhou Donghuang to spar with her, but each time, she had been badly beaten by Zhou Donghuang. Finally, she had been traumatized, and she had not looked for Zhou Donghuang since half a year ago. Now, she suddenly had an idea. If she alone was not Zhou Donghuang's match, then what if she joined forces with Zhuang? If the two of them worked together, they might not necessarily be Zhou Donghuang's match. After all, Zhou Donghuang was only a mid-Dharma adept like them. Yimengshi had just finished speaking, and Zhou Donghuang had not yet spoken, but Zhuang's eyes had already lit up. In the past, he had also looked for Zhou Donghuang to spar with him, and he had also been badly beaten by Zhou Donghuang. Now, hearing what Yimengshi had said, it was as if he could see the light at the end of the tunnel, and his heart was filled with anticipation. Third sister, are you sure? Zhou Donghuang looked deeply at Yimengshi and asked with a smile. I'm sure. Yimengshi nodded. Just tell me if you dare to or not. Why wouldn't I dare? Zhou Donghuang shook his head and smiled. Then he stepped into the air, and in the blink of an eye, he was even higher up in the sky, looking down at Yimengshi and Zhuang. Third sister, Zhuang, use all your strength and come at me together. Little brother, why are you flying so high up in the sky for a spar? Yimengshi frowned slightly. Are you provoking me and Zhuang? I'm afraid that if I make a move, I might accidentally destroy our place. Zhou Donghuang smiled. Destroy your and Zhuang's place? Little brother, don't tell me that you've already entered the late Dharma stage. Yimengshi's face was full of disbelief. However, Zhou Donghuang only looked at her with a smile and did not respond. Zhuang, go. Let little brother see what we're capable of. Yimengshi called out to Zhuang. As Zhuang's entire body was surrounded by lightning and fire, and as he shot into the sky, Yimengshi also took to the air on her sword. The 30-foot-tall Thunder Fire Dharma power and the 30-foot-tall Giant Sword Dharma power carried an awe-inspiring aura as they flew towards Zhou Donghuang. However, in the face of Yimengshi and Zhuang's combined attack, Zhou Donghuang raised an eyebrow lazily. In the next moment, he released his inner yuan, and a huge, illusory image of a giant tiger appeared. It was his White Tiger Dharma power. As soon as the White Tiger Dharma power appeared, it stole the Thunder and Fire Dharma power and the Giant Sword Dharma power's Thunder and Fire Dharma power. This was because it was too big. Whether compared to the Thunder and Fire Dharma power or the Giant Sword Dharma power, its size was many times larger. When the 10-foot-tall White Tiger Dharma power appeared in front of Yimengshi and Zhuang, they were so shocked that their expressions changed. A 10-foot-tall White Tiger Dharma power was 30 meters long. Of course, when the White Tiger Dharma power appeared, it was standing upright. Even so, with a body of 30 meters long, it was still a huge creature. Little brother, has he really broken through to the late Dharma stage? Yimengshi's eyes were filled with disbelief. There was no suspense in what happened next. Before Zhou Donghuang's White Tiger Dharma power had a breakthrough, be it Yimengshi or Zhuang, none of them would be a match for him. At that time, even if Yimengshi and Zhuang joined forces, they might not be able to win against Zhou Donghuang. Now that Zhou Donghuang's White Tiger Dharma power had broken through to the late Dharma stage, there was no longer any suspense in this battle. The Giant Tiger Dharma power casually struck out with its claws and shattered Yimengshi and Zhuang's Dharma power. Fortunately, Zhou Donghuang stopped in time, and Yimengshi and Zhuang only suffered some minor injuries from the backlash of their inner yuan. Little brother, you've really entered the late Dharma stage? Yimengshi stared at Zhou Donghuang, still in disbelief. She had thought that her training speed was already considered fast, but she was still half a step away from the late Dharma stage. She had never imagined that Zhou Donghuang would reach the late Dharma stage before her. As for Zhuang, he also looked at Zhou Donghuang in shock. Little brother, your training speed is too fast, isn't it? Zhou Donghuang smiled faintly. Half a year ago, his White Tiger Dharma power had already entered the late Dharma stage. Although the training environment and training resources that he enjoyed were not much better than Yimengshi and Zhuang's. After all, the core drugs that he refined were given to the two of them. However, his talent was there for all to see. His martial talent, even in the boundless universe, was top-notch, and he had inherited it from his biological parents. In the past, on the Ziyun planet, because of the training environment and training resources, his training speed had been very slow. Now, on the Tylao planet of the Hunglio Galaxy, the Autumn Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect, He had spared no effort in helping him find all kinds of rare herbs. Coupled with a large number of spirit stones that he had obtained from the memories of his past life, everything had been smooth sailing, and his training speed had naturally increased. In fact, now, not only had his White Tiger Dharma power entered the late Dharma stage, but his Green Dragon Dharma power had also entered the late Dharma stage 2 months ago. As for the Vermilion Bird Dharma power and the Black Tortoise Dharma power, they had already entered the mid-Dharma stage half a year ago. Of the 4 Dharma powers in his body, 2 were at the mid-Dharma stage, while the other 2 were at the late Dharma stage. You two have to work hard, otherwise, I'll leave you further and further behind. Zhou Donghuang smiled. Zhou Donghuang's words naturally gave Yi Mengshi and Zhuang a great deal of pressure, causing their expressions to turn serious in an instant. Little brother, Yi Mengshi seemed to have suddenly thought of something, and the serious expression on her face disappeared, replaced by a mocking expression. Didn't you already hear from me that the girl named Luo Qinghan is in the Jihan sect of the Xian planet? Under such circumstances, you can actually stay in the sect to train so calmly and not look for her. End of this chapter. Chapter 260. Yi Mengshi did not know that Luo Qinghan had come to the Lightning Sword sect, which was why she had asked. Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly at Yi Mengshi's question. We will meet when the time comes. Why the rush? Don't tell me you know that the Decennial Alliance hunt is about to begin? Yi Mengshi stared at Zhou Donghuang's face, as if trying to figure something out. Alliance hunt? Zhou Donghuang was taken aback. What's that? You don't know? Yi Mengshi asked in surprise. I thought that the reason you did not look for Luo Qinghan was because you knew that the Alliance hunt was about to begin and that you might be able to meet her soon. I did not expect that not only did you not know that the Alliance hunt was about to begin, but you also did not know about the Alliance hunt? The Alliance hunt was a hunt that was held once every 10 years by the top sects of the Hunglio Galaxy. The main characters were the Dharma adepts of the top sections. The Alliance hunt was held once every 10 years and was held on a special planet in the Hunglio Galaxy. The Dharma adepts of the top sects could enter and hunt beasts to earn points. When the Alliance hunt ended, the points would be ranked and rewards would be given out according to the rankings, and the rewards were all from the top sects of the Alliance. I see. After listening to Yi Mengshi's brief explanation of the Alliance hunt, Zhou Donghuang roughly understood what was going on. It was a trial for the Dharma adepts of the top sects of the Hunglio Galaxy. All Dharma adepts can enter? There is no age limit? Zhou Donghuang asked curiously. From the way he saw it, since all the top sects of the Hunglio Galaxy had prepared rewards for this Alliance hunt, and had even made it such a big event, they would not be willing to waste their rewards on those older Dharma adepts with limited potential. Of course, there are restrictions. Yi Mengshi nodded. The Alliance hunt only allows Dharma adepts of the top sects below the age of 50 to enter, and each sect only has 40 slots. 10 early Dharma adepts must be below the age of 30. 10 mid-Dharma adepts must be below the age of 35. 10 late Dharma adepts must be below the age of 40. And 10 ultimate Dharma adepts must be below the age of 50. At this point, Yi Mengshi looked at Zhou Donghuang meaningfully. So, as long as Luo Qinghan fulfills the conditions, she will very likely be one of the Jihan sect disciples participating in the Alliance hunt. What's the reward? Zhou Donghuang's question hit the nail on the head. This was what he was truly concerned about. As for the quota, he wasn't worried about it. Besides the fact that the Autumn Valley head, He would not disappoint him based on his own abilities, it would be easy for him to obtain a spot in the Lightning Sword sect. The other rewards are still all right. Among them, the best reward is the Sky Sun fruit. However, in order to obtain the Sky Sun fruit, not only do you have to accumulate enough points to rank first in the Alliance hunt, you also have to accumulate enough points to exceed a certain value. Sky Sun fruit? Zhou Dongwang was shocked. He had never imagined that the alliance of the top sects in the Honglio galaxy would be able to produce the Sky Sun fruit. The Sky Sun fruit was a spirit fruit that could allow adepts who had just entered the ultimate Dharma stage to break through to the primordial soul stage in a short period of time. Of course, whether or not one could break through to the primordial soul stage with the help of the spirit fruit depended on the ability of the person who consumed it. Most of the ultimate Dharma adepts, after consuming the Sky Sun fruit, would only allow their inner yuan to reach the bottleneck of the ultimate Dharma stage, and they would only be able to break through to the Dharma stage. The Sky Sun fruit was not something that only ultimate Dharma adepts could consume. Any adept who was above the Dharma stage could consume it. However, for adepts who were above the primordial soul stage to consume the Sky Sun fruit, although their inner yuan would still increase, it would not be of much help to them. Throughout the entire universe, the Sky Sun fruit was one of the top 3 spirit fruits that Dharma adepts could consume. Third senior sister, is there really a Sky Sun fruit? Zhou Dongwang took a deep breath and asked for confirmation. In the past 2 years in the Lightning Sword sect, the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, had been very cooperative in helping him find all kinds of rare herbs and produce all kinds of core drugs for him. However, all of those core drugs added up could not compare to the Sky Sun fruit. If I could get my hands on the Sky Sun fruit and use it as the main ingredient, I can produce an even better Sky Sun elixir, and I can even make a few of them. The Sky Sun elixir was a core drug made from the Sky Sun fruit and other rare herbs. It was similar to the Sky Sun fruit, but its effects were stronger. Little junior brother, the Sky Sun fruit is not that easy to get. It was not difficult for He Mengshi to see that Zhou Donghuang was interested in the Sky Sun fruit, but she could not help but pour cold water on him. The Sky Sun fruit in the Alliance has already been in the Alliance for hundreds of years. As for the Alliance hunt, it is held once every 10 years. This means that in the past hundreds of years, the scores of disciples from the top sects who have won first place in the Alliance hunt have not reached the threshold to obtain the Sky Sun fruit. First place in the Alliance hunt is only one of the requirements to obtain the Sky Sun fruit. The other requirement is to reach the threshold to obtain the Sky Sun fruit. He Mengshi reminded him. Has anyone reached that threshold before? Zhou Dongwang asked. Of course. He Mengshi nodded. More than 400 years ago, a late Dharma adept from the Great Barren Planet's fiery sect won first place in the Alliance hunt. His accumulated points met the requirements to obtain the Sky Sun fruit, and he obtained it. Great Planet? Fire sect? Zhou Dongwang's eyes narrowed. No wonder the name sounded so familiar. The ultimate Dharma adept, Mo Gan, who had left behind a divine soul shaper in his belongings after he died of old age, had asked the person who had obtained his belongings to help him kill a person from the Great Planet Fire sect named Gong Sunling. At this moment, He Mengshi continued. That incident was something that the Great Wilderness Stars Fiery sect was proud of, but the world is unpredictable. After that talented disciple of the fiery sect obtained the Sky Sun fruit, he betrayed the fiery sect and joined one of the 2 transcendental forces of the Honglio galaxy, the Qi dynasty. Later on, his identity was revealed to be the youngest son of the Qi dynasty's King Qi, a young prince of the Qi dynasty. The reason he joined the fire sect was because of the Sky Sun fruit. There is only one Sky Sun fruit tree in the Honglio galaxy, and according to the agreement between the 2 transcendental forces and the Alliance, the Sky Sun fruit tree will bear 4 fruits every 3,000 years, 1 for each of the 2 transcendental forces and 2 for the Alliance. The value of the Sky Sun fruit is obvious. In the Alliance, there are only 2 fruits every 3,000 years. That time, the young prince of the Qi dynasty used such a method to obtain a Sky Sun fruit, and this caused the entire Alliance to be furious. More than 10 top sects sent representatives to the Qi dynasty to demand an explanation. However, because there was no agreement that we couldn't do this, the Alliance could only swallow this loss. After that incident, the Alliance found the Qi dynasty and another transcendental force and made an agreement. The two transcendental forces could no longer send people to infiltrate any of the sects of the Alliance to fight for the Sky Sun Fruit with the Alliance disciples, or the Alliance would kill them at all costs. At this point, Mengshi paused for a moment before continuing with a bitter smile. If it wasn't for the Qi dynasty's young master obtaining a Sky Sun Fruit 400 years ago, the Alliance would still have two Sky Sun Fruits. The most recent Sky Sun Fruit, as well as the Sky Sun Fruit obtained by the young prince of the Qi dynasty, were both plucked from the Sky Sun Fruit tree 1,000 years ago. After Mengshi's explanation, Zhou Dongwang finally understood the meaning of the Alliance hunt. It was nothing more than a hunting competition organized by the various sects of the Alliance to motivate their disciples. For this, the Alliance had even taken out two Sky Sun Fruits every 3,000 years. Third senior sister, Zhou Dongwang asked, if someone obtains the Sky Sun Fruit in this Alliance hunt, then in the next 2,000 years, the Alliance will no longer have the Sky Sun Fruit, and the Alliance disciple who obtains the first place in the Alliance hunt and has accumulated enough points to obtain the Sky Sun Fruit will also not be able to obtain the Sky Sun Fruit. The Sky Sun Fruit in the Alliance's hands had been plucked 1,000 years ago. The Sky Sun Fruit tree only bore fruit once every 3,000 years. This meant that it would take another 2,000 years for the next fruit to bear fruit. That's right. Mengshi nodded. In the history of the Alliance, there have been many talented disciples who have met with such treatment. However, it can only be said that they were unlucky and were born in the wrong era. When will the Alliance hunt take place? Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed as he asked. In 7 months, Mengshi said with a smile. Mengshi smiled and said, in a month's time, the sect will decide on the 40 people who will be entering the Alliance hunt half a year in advance. And the 40 people who have been chosen will not be able to leave the Lightning Sword sect for the next 6 months, until they head to the location where the Alliance hunt will take place. Third senior sister, the Valley Head should be able to decide on a few names, right? Zhou Dongwang asked. You don't have to worry about the names. No one can snatch your name from you. In fact, I heard from my father that the sect head is very excited about your performance in the Alliance hunt. If you don't participate in the Alliance hunt, the sect head might personally come to ask you to participate. Mengshi shook her head and sighed. The Alliance hunt, to a certain extent, concerns the reputation of the various top sects of the Alliance. As the sect head of the Lightning Sword sect, he definitely hopes that the disciples of the Lightning Sword sect will perform well in the Alliance hunt. As for De Zhuang and I, we will have to pass the assessment in order to be selected. As she spoke, the corners of Mengshi's mouth turned up in a smile. Regardless of whether it was for her or De Zhuang, it would not be difficult for them to obtain a name in the Alliance hunt. In reality, it was just as Mengshi had thought. A month later, even though she and De Zhuang had held back, they still easily obtained a name as a mid-Dharma disciple. End of this chapter. Chapter 261. When the Lightning Sword sect was in the process of deciding on the 40 participants to participate in the Alliance hunt that was to take place half a year later, they had also made a mistake. That is, the Lightning Peak Elder who was in charge of determining the number of participants had set Zhou Donghuang's name as one of the 10 mid-Dharma adepts. It was only after Mengshi reminded him that Zhou Donghuang was now a late Dharma adept that he corrected himself. At this time, the 40 spots had already been decided. Then, one of the weakest late Dharma adepts was kicked off the list because he wanted to give the spot to Zhou Donghuang. This late Dharma adept was initially reluctant, but after the Lightning Peak Elder said, "You can challenge Zhou Donghuang. If you win, the slot will still be yours," he immediately shut his mouth. This time, out of the 10 late Dharma disciples that the Lightning Sword sect had chosen, he was the weakest. Although Zhou Donghuang had only recently attained the late Dharma stage, he was still not someone that he could go up against. Just the Dharma power that Zhou Donghuang had displayed when he had defeated the genius disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Han Yujing, as well as the Dharma body integration technique, was enough to prove that he had reached the late Dharma stage. Even the other 9 late Dharma adepts would not be a match for Zhou Donghuang, let alone him. Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power was too heaven-defying. Unlike this unlucky late Dharma disciple, as Zhou Donghuang's name was removed from the list of 10 mid-Dharma disciples. A rather powerful mid-Dharma disciple who had originally been eliminated took the spot. After the names of the participants had been confirmed in the Lightning Sword sect, besides the topic of the Alliance Hunt, there's also a lot of discussion about Zhou Donghuang's advancement to the late Dharma stage. Who would have thought that Zhou Donghuang would actually reach the late Dharma stage? Isn't this speed of practice a little too incredible? He's only 26 this year, right? A 26-year-old late Dharma adept. Has there ever been one in the history of the Tai Lao planet? I don't think I've heard of any late Dharma adepts appearing in the history of the Tai Lao planet, at least not in the recorded history. If that's the case, doesn't that mean that Zhou Donghuang is the fastest person to reach the late Dharma stage in the history of the Tai Lao planet? That's right. I wonder if the genius disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Han Yujing, has entered the late Dharma stage. If he has, then Zhou Donghuang will not be considered to have made history. He will only be considered to be on par with Han Yujing. Han Yujing? He was defeated by Zhou Donghuang. How can he compare to Zhou Donghuang? The Summer Valley Head's godson and personal disciple, Lien Can, had also received a spot as a mid-Dharma disciple to head to the Alliance Hunt. It was just that he had never imagined that Zhou Donghuang, who did not even need to participate in the assessment, had already entered the late Dharma stage. What was even more unexpected was that He Mengshi, the daughter of the Autumn Valley's Valley Head, He Jin, the woman he saw as his exclusive property, the woman he wanted to possess, had actually defeated him. Moreover, that woman had defeated him within 10 moves. Not only had that woman defeated him, but even the Autumn Valley disciple, De Zhuang, who had once been pinned to the ground by him, had also defeated him. Ever since Zhou Donghuang had appeared, the two of them's powers had skyrocketed, shocking everyone. Because of this, Lien Can's expression was very ugly when he returned to the Summer Valley. "You look so ugly. Don't tell me you didn't even get a spot." The Summer Valley head, Lien Kun, could not help but frown when he saw Lien Can's expression. In his opinion, with Lien Can's current powers, it would be easy for him to obtain a spot as a mid-Dharma disciple. "I got the spot." Lien Can smiled bitterly. Hearing this, Lien Kun's frown eased. "Since you got it, why are you frowning?" "Godfather." Lien Can sighed. "That Zhou Donghuang, just as you had guessed, the sect leader personally appointed him to participate in the Alliance Hunt without having to participate in the assessment. That's normal." Lien Kun smiled lightly. With his powers, he has a chance of making it to the top 10 of the Alliance Hunt scoreboard. Our Lightning Sword sect has not had a disciple who has made it to the top 10 in almost 100 years. This time, the sect leader must be counting on him to bring glory to the sect. Lien Kun was not surprised at all. Even if he was the Lightning Sword sect leader, he would have done the same. He has entered the late Dharma stage. Lien Can continue to sigh. "Who?" Lien Kun did not react for a moment. "Zhou Donghuang," Lien Can said. "What?" Lien Can's words undoubtedly shocked Lien Kun. Didn't that Zhou Donghuang only enter the mid-Dharma stage a year and a half ago? In just a year and a half, he had already entered the late Dharma stage? What kind of talent was that? Not just in the Lightning Sword sect, but even in the history of the Tai Lao planet and the Honglio galaxy, no one had ever heard of anyone entering the late Dharma stage from the mid-Dharma stage in less than 2 years. That was too scary, wasn't it? "Is that true?" Lien Kun asked subconsciously. He Mengshi said it, so it can't be wrong. Now, the sect has given him a spot as a late Dharma disciple. Hearing Lien Can say this, Lien Kun's expression became serious, and his eyes were filled with shock. That Zhou Donghuang is really a monster. Not only is his Dharma power strong, but his level of practice has also increased so quickly. Lien Kun, the Lightning Sword sect's Summer Valley head, had seen many martial arts geniuses in his life, but now he felt that those geniuses were not even worthy of carrying Zhou Donghuang's shoes. "There's one more thing." While Lien Kun was still in shock, Lien Can said bitterly, "In today's assessment, I fought with Mengshi of the Autumn Valley, and I lost to her in less than 10 moves." Just as Lien Kun was feeling even more shocked, Lien Can continued, That Autumn Valley disciple, De Zhuang, also defeated me in less than 20 moves. At that moment, Lien Kuan was so shocked that he was completely numb. Was the Autumn Valley trying to defy nature? That Zhou Dongwang seems to be the Autumn Valley's lucky star. After he entered the Autumn Valley, the other disciples of the Autumn Valley also followed suit and defy nature. Lien Kuan muttered to himself. Of course, it was not difficult for Lien Kuan to guess whether it was Mengshi or De Zhuang. The reason why their skills had increased so quickly in such a short period of time was definitely because of Zhou Dongwang. Not just Mengshi, but De Zhuang. 2 years ago, he was only an ultimate primal core adept. Now, not only had he entered the Dharma stage, but he had also entered the mid-Dharma stage. Lu Lang, the only son of the Spring Valley head, Lu Fenggu, had also obtained an early Dharma disciple slot in the Alliance Hunt. Although he had only entered the early Dharma stage not too long ago, when he had been at the ultimate primal core stage, his father had taught him how to improve his Dharma power. After entering the early Dharma stage, his skills were stronger than most of the early Dharma disciples of the Lightning Sword sect. Today, he had personally witnessed Mengshi defeat the Summer Valley disciple, Lien Kan. Before that, he had heard that Lien Kan's skills were unmatched among the mid-Dharma disciples of the Summer Valley, and that he was extremely powerful. His father had also told him that even if he had entered the mid-Dharma stage now, he would still be no match for Lien Kan. However, Mengshi, whose skills had previously been on par with Lien Kan's, had defeated Lien Kan this time, and in less than 10 moves. What shocked him the most was still the Autumn Valley disciple, De Zhuang. In the short span of 2 years, De Zhuang had advanced from the ultimate primal core stage to the mid-Dharma stage, and he now had the ability to defeat Lien Kan within 20 moves. Their changes are too great, and all of this must have something to do with Zhou Dongwang. Another thing that shocked Lu Lang was that Zhou Dongwang had actually entered the late Dharma stage. Gosh, how long had it been? He remembered it very clearly. 2 years ago, Zhou Dongwang was only a golden essence adept like De Zhuang, but in a short span of 2 years, he had already entered the late Dharma stage. Furthermore, Zhou Dongwang's Dharma power had been trained to perfection. His father had told him that based on Zhou Dongwang's current Dharma power, once he entered the ultimate Dharma stage, he would be unmatched in the Lightning Sword sect. With Zhou Dongwang's Dharma power now that he has entered the late Dharma stage, in the Lightning Sword sect, basically no one below the ultimate Dharma stage can be his match. After guessing that the increase in Mengshi and De Zhuang's skills had something to do with Zhou Dongwang, Lu Lang felt a burning passion in his heart, but at the same time, he felt a little helpless. Zhou Dongwang was someone he had always wanted to befriend. However, Zhou Dongwang was unmoved and completely ignored him. If he had entered the Spring Valley instead of the Autumn Valley, and if he was on good terms with me, perhaps I would have entered the mid-Dharma stage by now. Lu Lang knew that his talent and ability to understand things were not inferior to that of the Autumn Valley disciple, De Zhuang. In reality, the reason why De Zhuang's level of practice had increased so dramatically was because his body was very compatible with the fiery thunder training regimen. Because of the compatibility between their bodies, there would be an explosive increase in the level of practice in the early stages, and then it would slowly return to its original state. Because of this, De Zhuang had been able to break through from the early Dharma stage to the mid-Dharma stage in just over a year. The Ziji planet, the Jihan sect. Like the Lightning Sword sect, the Jihan sect had also decided on the 40 participants for the Alliance Hunt half a year ago. That was close. Luo Qinghan heaved a long sigh of relief after the assessment for today's Alliance Hunt had ended. She had almost not been able to get a place. Her ability was the weakest among the 10 early Dharma adepts that the Jihan sect had chosen. Of course, this was also because Luo Qinghan had not switched to the technique of everlasting youth, which Zhou Dongwang had left for Luo Wuchen. Otherwise, Luo Qinghan's ability would have been much higher. If I had not entered the early Dharma stage more than a year ago and had Granny's careful guidance this time, I definitely would not have been able to get a place in the Alliance Hunt. Luo Qinghan was somewhat relieved. In the past year, after she had entered the Dharma stage, Luo Qinghan had returned home again and stayed for a long time before returning. She had stayed at home to receive careful guidance from her granny Li Yu, who had taught her how to better and more efficiently train her Dharma power. Now that Li Yu had trained in the technique of everlasting youth, her level of practice was so high that most ultimate Dharma adepts could not compare to her. End of this chapter. Chapter 262. Although Li Yu and Luo Wuchen had never thought of imparting the technique of everlasting youth to others, they had never thought of doing so. Whether it was because they were worried that the technique of everlasting youth would harm themselves and the Luo family, or because they felt guilty to Zhou Donghuang, they did not intend to pass it on to anyone else. There was only one person that they wanted to pass on the technique of everlasting youth to. That person was Luo Qinghan. Li Yu and Luo Wuchen knew very well that Zhou Donghuang had given the technique of everlasting youth as a betrothal gift because he had intended to pass it on to Luo Qinghan. Now, they were practicing it, but Luo Qinghan was unwilling to do so. They were very upset. That was why they wanted Luo Qinghan to practice the technique of everlasting youth. However, Luo Qinghan was stubborn and only said one thing. "Father, Granny, I promised him that I would not practice the technique he gave you. No matter what you say, it is useless. I will not practice it." She had her own stubbornness. She already owed that man too much. Now, there was no way she could return it. If she continued to owe him, wouldn't she be taking advantage of him? She, Luo Qinghan, could not do such a thing. Precisely because of this, Luo Qinghan's current achievements were mostly due to her martial talent, the ancient core drug, the advanced energy-gathering formation, and the careful guidance of her granny Li Yu. If she had practiced the technique of everlasting youth, her achievements would have been even higher. There's still half a year. Luo Qinghan's eyes shone brightly. From now until the end of the Alliance hunt, before the scoreboard is released, anyone who is selected by the sect to participate in the Alliance hunt must suppress their level of practice, even if they are about to break through. No matter who it is, if they break through before the scoreboard is released, they will either be disqualified from participating in the Alliance hunt, or their results will be nullified. Although, no matter how hard I train during this period of time, I will not be able to break through to the mid-Dharma stage in such a short period of time. Since there is such a rule, I might as well spend this period of time training my Dharma power. Making my Dharma power stronger is the only way for me to improve my abilities, given that I am unable to improve my level of practice. This time, Luo Qinghan did not return to the Luo family. Instead, she looked for her grandmother to give her pointers on the way to train her Dharma power. The last time she had left, her grandmother had let slip that her grandmother's current understanding of the way of training Dharma power came mostly from the technique of everlasting youth that Zhou Donghuang had given her. This made her very uncomfortable and even a little repulsed. However, although Luo Qinghan did not return to the Luo family this time, the Jihan sect placed great importance on the group of disciples who were participating in the Alliance hunt. As such, they had requested that some of the elders who had trained their Dharma power to an extremely high level when they were still at the Dharma stage to focus on teaching the disciples for the next 6 months. Including Luo Qinghan, he would help the 40 Dharma adepts who were about to participate in the Alliance hunt to further temper and improve their Dharma power. During this process, it was not difficult for Luo Qinghan to discover. When she was at the Dharma stage, the group of elders of the Jihan sect who had trained their Dharma power to a high level had taught her lessons without holding anything back. However, the help that they had given her was not as great as the help that her grandmother had given her. If she did not already know that her grandmother's understanding of the way of training Dharma power came mostly from the technique that Zhou Donghuang had given her, she would definitely return to the Luo family to get her grandmother to teach her in order to further improve her abilities. She would only return to the Jihan sect when the Alliance hunt was nearing. However, now that she had found out, she naturally could not return to the Luo family. She really did not want to owe that man anymore. The Tai Lao planet. The Thunder Knife sect. More than a year ago, before heading to the Lightning Sword sect, Han Yujing, a disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, was known as a rare martial arts genius of the Tai Lao planet. He was the top person of the younger generation of the Tai Lao planet. However, his trip to the Lightning Sword sect to show off his prowess had been a sure thing. He did not expect that he would fail miserably. Han Yujing had been defeated by a young man of the same age and level of training in the Lightning Sword sect. It was also at that time that the people of the Thunder Knife sect knew that there was an inner disciple of the Lightning Sword sect named Zhou Donghuang, who was stronger and more talented than Han Yujing. This was something that Han Yujing had always been ashamed of, and he had always been looking for an opportunity to avenge himself. Yujing, do you remember that disciple of the Lightning Sword sect, Zhou Donghuang, who you defeated the last time? The leader of the Thunder Knife sect, Luo Yuanxiu, called over the most outstanding disciple of the sect, Han Yujing, and asked him, "Master, I can't possibly forget him." Han Yujing's eyes flashed with the desire to fight. When the alliance hunt begins, I will defeat him and avenge myself. Ever since he had been defeated and returned to the Thunder Knife sect, he had worked even harder. Now, he had even entered the late Dharma stage, and his Dharma power had been further refined. He had already reached the threshold of Dharma body possession. If he had more time, he was confident that he would be able to master Dharma body possession before he entered the ultimate Dharma stage. Do you think that Zhou Donghuang will participate in the alliance hunt as a mid-Dharma adept of the Lightning Sword sect? How could Luo Yuanxiu not know what Han Yujing was thinking? He thought that Zhou Donghuang was still a mid-Dharma adept, and that he could defeat him with his late Dharma power. Master, what do you mean by that? Han Yujing had a bad feeling about this, but he still felt that it was unlikely. This was because, according to what he knew, Zhou Donghuang had only just entered the mid-Dharma stage when they fought. In less than 2 years, could he have broken through and entered the late Dharma stage like him? I've just received news. Zhou Donghuang has received a late Dharma adept slot from the Lightning Sword sect to participate in the alliance hunt. Luo Yuanxiu sighed. Although I can't believe it, now that things have come to this, I have no choice but to believe that Zhou Donghuang has also entered the late Dharma stage, just like you. You were so confident just now because you felt that your power was higher than his, and even if your Dharma power was slightly weaker than his, you still had the confidence to defeat him. But now, he has also entered the late Dharma stage, and his power is similar to yours. Coupled with his Dharma power that is superior to yours, there is no doubt that the two of you will win this battle. Even though Han Yujing had been mentally prepared, he could not help but feel his heart sink when he heard Luo Yuanxiu's words. He had never imagined that Zhou Donghuang would have entered the late Dharma stage as well. Didn't he just enter the mid-Dharma stage? It has only been less than 2 years, and he has already entered the late Dharma stage? Han Yujing's tone was filled with disbelief. One had to know that even it's been close to 3 years to enter the late Dharma stage from the early Dharma stage to the early Dharma stage. This was also because his family in the Thunder Knife sect had spent countless high-quality resources on him, and they had not held back in training him. Han Yujing's family was also a powerful force on the Tai Lao planet, second only to the top 3 sects, including the Lightning Sword sect and the Thunder Knife sect. They belong to the second tier of forces on the Tai Lao planet. Yujing, I know that you may not be able to accept this, but this is the truth. Even if you don't want to accept it, you have to accept it. Luo Yuanxiu said in a low voice. You have to know that there is always someone better than you out there. Zhou Donghuang's appearance is just the right time for you to swallow your pride. Even on the Tai Lao planet, there are still people who are suppressing you in all aspects, much less in the Honglio galaxy. Your achievements are insignificant in front of him. Luo Yuanxiu's words were indeed harsh. He had done this naturally to motivate this disciple of his. Master, I may have lost him now, but that does not mean that I will lose to him in the future. Han Yujing's gaze was resolute, and his tone was resolute. He then bade farewell and returned to his training, as if he did not want to waste any more time. Seeing this, Luo Yuanxiu's chubby face also squeezed out a satisfied smile. After a while, his smile relaxed and he sighed. I had thought that with Yujing's appearance, the Thunder Knife sect would be able to suppress the Lightning Sword sect in terms of the younger generation. Who would have thought that the Lightning Sword sect would have a Zhou Donghuang? From Luo Yuanxiu's point of view, Zhou Donghuang's appearance was like Han Yujing's nemesis, suppressing him in all aspects. However, based on the current situation, although Han Yujing was being suppressed, this pressure had also turned into motivation, which was a good thing for Han Yujing. There's still half a year. Thinking that there was still half a year until the start of the alliance hunt, Luo Yuanxiu's small eyes narrowed, and he murmured, with Zhou Donghuang's ability, it will not be difficult for him to fight his way into the top 10. As for that child Yujing, if he is unable to master the dermic possession in the next half a year, I'm afraid it will be impossible for him to fight his way into the top 10. The Hungliu Galaxy's alliance of sects included dozens of top sects, and among them, there was no lack of outstanding talents. For this alliance hunt, dozens of top sects would send their most outstanding Dharma adepts to participate, and the competition would be unprecedentedly fierce. As time passed, the alliance hunt drew closer. At this time, most of the Dharma adepts of the top sects who had obtained a place in the alliance hunt were excited, expectant, and anxious, of course. There were still a few who were calm, as if nothing had happened. Zhou Donghuang was one of them. I've finally completely refined the divine soul shaper. Now, my divine will has been formed. Once I enter the primordial soul stage, I can form my divine will. Throughout the boundless universe, I'm afraid there are not many people who can do this. In the autumn valley of the lightning sword sect, in a room in a courtyard, a young man dressed in white sat cross-legged on a bed. The next moment, a ripple appeared in the air above his head, and his divine will swept out, covering the surrounding area. At this moment, Zhou Donghuang was in the room, and he knew everything that was happening outside like the back of his hand. Chapter 263. The use of divine will was not only to detect things invisible to the naked eye. A strong divine will could even affect a person's soul and even destroy it. For example, Zhou Donghuang was able to form his divine will at the Dharma stage. Any Dharma adept below the primordial soul stage who had yet to form his divine will would be able to affect his opponent's soul with just one divine will. Even if he could not destroy his opponent's soul, he could at least affect it. Once the soul was affected, the person involved would be greatly affected. The most direct impact would be during the moment when the soul was affected, and the person would definitely be distracted. Think about it. If two Dharma adepts were to fight, and one of them could form his divine will and use it to affect his opponent's soul at a critical moment, what would happen? The moment the opponent was distracted, it would be enough for the person who used his divine will to easily defeat him or even kill him. Many times, a change in the blink of an eye was enough to take a person's life. However, this divine will is too weak. It's much weaker than a primal core adept who has just formed his divine will at the primordial soul stage. Other than being able to detect things invisible to the naked eye, it can only be used to bully Dharma adepts who have yet to form their divine will. Although Zhou Donghuang was lamenting the weakness of his divine will, there was a hint of joy in his expression. It was obvious that he was very satisfied with being able to form his divine will earlier. Now that I've completely refined the divine soul shaper, I can focus on training without any distractions. I'll try to raise my third Dharma power to the late Dharma stage before the alliance hunt begins. With this thought in mind, Zhou Donghuang began to devote himself to training, not paying attention to the outside world. Not only Zhou Donghuang, but even De Zhuang and He Mengshi rarely stepped out of their rooms in the next 6 months. De Zhuang and He Mengshi, on the other hand, did not spend any effort on training their Dharma power, because their Dharma power was already perfect enough. No matter how much they trained, it would be difficult to improve. As long as they broke through to the late Dharma stage, with the mystical power of the deity-level techniques that they had switched to, their Dharma power would also be improved. Of course, although they were training hard, they still had a long way to go before they reached the late Dharma stage. Half a year was not enough for them to improve further. Time slipped by like a white steed flitting past a crevice. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed, and the decennial alliance hunt of the Hungliu Galaxy was about to begin. The alliance of the Hungliu Galaxy was formed by the 52 top sects of the Hungliu Galaxy. The purpose of the alliance was to resist the two strongest transcendental forces of the Hungliu Galaxy, Qi Dynasty, Guangling Academy. In the Honglio Galaxy, the best training environment and training resources were in the hands of the two transcendental forces, and only the training resources in the hands of the two transcendental forces could guarantee the speed of training for a divine transformation adept who had just entered the divine transformation stage. Therefore, the two transcendent forces had the most soul formation cultivators. As for the various top sects of the Alliance, even if they had a divine transformation adept, unless they were entrusted with the heavy responsibility of protecting their sects, they would not stay in the Honglio Galaxy. This was because, to them, staying in the Honglio Galaxy would slow down their progress. It was very likely that due to some delays, they would not be able to enter the separating divinity stage and die of old age. Although soul formation cultivators could live longer, they were still shackled by their lifespan. They all wanted to go one step further and become a separating divinity adept, breaking the shackles of a divine transformation adept's lifespan. Because of this, even if the top sect had a divine transformation adept, they would not be willing to continue staying in the Honglio Galaxy and waste their time and lives. Even the two transcendental forces, when their divine transformation adepts had reached a certain level of training, they would also not be willing to continue staying in the Honglio Galaxy. They all wanted to head to a wider and more fertile galaxy to seek their own opportunities. Who knows, they might be able to advance further in the outside world and have a longer lifespan. It could be said that in the Honglio Galaxy, the reason why the two transcendental forces had more divine transformation adepts than the top sects of the Alliance was because they had the best training resources. Of course, there might be people who would ask, no matter how small the chances of the divine transformation adepts of the top sects of the Alliance becoming successful were, there should still be some who had entered the separating divinity stage, right? Of course there were. However, those who were strong usually wanted to advance further and break through to the heavenly stage to have a longer lifespan. In addition, their loved ones had basically all been taken away from the Honglio Galaxy by them. Under such circumstances, they did not have any thoughts of returning to the Honglio Galaxy to revitalize their sections. Furthermore, in terms of the chances of success, the divine transformation adepts of the top sects were actually not as high as those of the two transcendental forces. After all, there were many divine transformation adepts from the two transcendental forces, and their foundations were stronger. However, even so, the two transcendental forces rarely had any separating divinity seniors return. Even if there were, they would not stay in the Honglio Galaxy for long. Just like those businesses on Earth, if they wanted to expand, they would basically have to go to the big cities where there were better opportunities and more resources. The Alliance hunting ground is a planet in the Honglio Galaxy called the Guiyao planet. The reason why this planet was named the Guiyao planet is because it is very strange, and there are only beasts on this planet. The group of Dharma adepts of the Lightning Sword sect was personally led by sect leader Yu Yuqing. Accompanying them were the 4 valley heads of the 4 valleys of the inner sect. The person who was speaking now was the Spring Valley head, Lu Fengao. He was introducing the destination of this trip to a group of Dharma adepts who did not know about the Alliance hunting ground. The spirit energy on this planet is normal for 2 hours, but it will be chaotic the next 2 hours. This is the case all year round. Because of this, it is not suitable for humans to train there. Hearing Lu Fengao's words, Zhou Donghuang raised his eyebrows. There must be a reason for this abnormality. There must be a reason why the spirit energy on this planet was so erratic. However, based on the current situation, the reason for the Guiyao planet's erratic spirit energy had obviously not been discovered yet. Furthermore, the spirit energy on this planet is not very abundant. Even if the beasts train there, they can only train to the ultimate Dharma stage at most. There's basically no possibility of them entering the primordial soul stage. The spirit energy of heaven and earth on the Guiyao planet originates from the spirit stone veins. However, based on the spirit energy of heaven and earth on the Guiyao planet, these spirit stone veins are just ordinary spirit stone veins. There are many people in the Honglio Galaxy who want to excavate the spirit stone veins on the Guiyao planet. However, because the spirit stone veins are too deep and the soil inside is very hard. Even divine transformation adepts find it difficult to excavate them. As time passed, no one wasted any effort on them. After that, the ancestors of the various sects of the Alliance decided to transform the Guiyao planet into a training ground for the disciples of the Alliance. They set up a series of spells on the planet. Then the Alliance hunt was born. At this point, Lu Fengao paused for a while before continuing. The process of the Alliance hunt is to kill beasts and gain points. I'm sure all of you have heard about this. However, you may not know this. Alliance Dharma disciples of different levels of training can obtain different points for killing beasts of the same level. For an early Dharma adept, killing an early Dharma beast would earn you 10 points. Killing a mid-Dharma beast would earn you 100 points. Killing a late Dharma beast would earn you 1,000 points. Killing an ultimate Dharma beast would earn you 10,000 points. At this point, Lu Fengao saw the stunned expressions on the faces of the Dharma disciples and immediately added, "Of course, it is impossible for an early Dharma disciple to kill a late Dharma beast. As for the ultimate Dharma stage, there is no need to even mention it. If any early Dharma disciple can kill an ultimate Dharma beast, after killing it, they can immediately leave and become the champion of the Alliance hunt." At this point, Lu Fengao shook his head. In the past few hundred years, no Dharma disciple of the Alliance has been able to obtain 10,000 points. As for a mid-Dharma adept, killing an early Dharma beast will not earn you any points. Killing a mid-Dharma beast will earn you 10 points. Killing a late Dharma beast will earn you 100 points, and killing an ultimate Dharma beast will earn you 1,000 points. Of course, it is impossible for a mid-Dharma disciple to kill an ultimate Dharma beast. For a late Dharma disciple, killing an early Dharma beast or a mid-Dharma beast does not earn points. Killing a beast of the same level is worth 10 points, and killing an ultimate Dharma beast is worth 100 points. For an ultimate Dharma disciple, killing a beast of the same level is worth 10 points. Killing a beast of a lower level does not earn points. Because of this, although the ultimate Dharma disciples are the strongest among the Dharma disciples participating in the Alliance hunt, they have the least advantage. This is because they can only honestly kill beasts of the same level to earn points. An ultimate Dharma beast is worth 10 points. If they want to reach 10,000 points, they have to kill 1,000 ultimate Dharma beasts. However, the duration of the Alliance hunt is only 3 months. In just 3 short months, it's hard to say if we can even encounter 1,000 ultimate Dharma beasts, much less kill them all. Because of this, in the history of the Alliance hunt, there has never been a case of an ultimate Dharma disciple making it to the top 10. Because of this, many late Dharma disciples will choose not to break through to the next level when the Alliance hunt is near. They will continue to train their Dharma power in preparation for the Alliance hunt. At this point, the group of Dharma disciples, including Zhou Donghuang, who did not know much about the Alliance hunt, suddenly understood some of the rules of the Alliance hunt. The Alliance hunt allows many people to work together. However, killing a beast can only be given to one person to accumulate points and cannot be shared with more than one person. This is because, after the Alliance hunt, everyone has to hand in more than 60% of the beast brain in order to accumulate points. Chapter 264. Although the Guiyao planet was quite a distance away from the Tailao planet, there was no planet with a galaxy teleporter that was the closest to the Guiyao planet. Therefore, the group of people from the Lightning Sword sect directly left the Tailao planet and traveled through space towards the Guiyao planet. Along the way, Zhou Donghuang could see some planets shining brightly under the illumination of the central star of the Honglio galaxy. It was a dazzling sight. The Guiyao planet is right in front. As Yu Yuqing of the Lightning Sword sect spoke, Zhou Donghuang lifted his head and saw the grayish-green planet in front of him. There was a blue part of the planet. Zhou Donghuang was clear. The grayish-green was the land and rivers of the planet, and the blue part was probably the oceans of the planet. The latter did not take up as much space as the former. Furthermore, the layer of air surrounding the planet was not white, but a grayish-brown color. It was a little strange. So many people. As he got closer, Zhou Dongwang heard a few gasps, and only then did he realize that there were many people standing in groups on the outskirts of the planet that he was getting closer to. Obviously, these people were from the other sects of the Alliance. There are 52 sects in the Alliance. This time, there are more than 2,000 Dharma adepts participating in the Alliance hunt. These people add up to less than 1,000 people. Obviously, there are still many people who have not arrived. He Mengshi stood beside Zhou Dongwang and said softly to him, "Tomorrow is the Alliance hunt. Those who are not here will probably arrive on time today." De Zhuang said, "Little brother." He Mengshi smiled at Zhou Dongwang. "Hurry up and see if your little lover is here yet. I'm not familiar with the Jihan sect, so I can't recognize them." Although the Jihan sect was a sect that had more women than men, there were many other sects in the Alliance of the Honglio Galaxy that also had more women than men. There was even a sect that only accepted female disciples. Faced with Mengshi's teasing, Zhou Dongwang raised his head helplessly. He scanned 1,000 people in front of him, but he could not find any trace of Luo Qinghan. Obviously, Luo Qinghan had not arrived yet. Or perhaps Luo Qinghan had already arrived, but was on the other side of the Guiyao planet. Huh, sect leader your lightning sword sect is here so early as well? Zhou Dongwang and the others had just settled down in the starry sky near the Guiyao planet when a leader of the closest group of people, a tall, burly middle-aged man dressed in a dark golden robe, smiled and greeted the lightning sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing. Yu Yuqing stood at the front of the group from the lightning sword sect and was very eye-catching. Sect leader Zhang. Yu Yuqing looked at him and grinned. Your Yunyue sect is ahead of the lightning sword sect again. We just arrived as well. The middle-aged man in the golden robe shook his head and smiled. Then, his gaze subconsciously fell on the group of people behind Yu Yuqing, and he asked without any hesitation, "Sect leader Yu, I heard that your sect has produced a talented mid-Dharma adept who has mastered the Dharma body integration technique. This time, he should be here, right?" Because there was some distance between Yu Yuqing and the middle-aged man in the golden robe. When the middle-aged man in the golden robe spoke, his voice was heard by the group of people behind him and the lightning sword sect. The group of people from the lightning sword sect was fine, and only a few of them subconsciously looked at Zhou Dongwang and whispered among themselves. The Yunyue sect leader probably doesn't know yet. Junior brother Dongwang has already entered the late Dharma stage. I didn't expect junior brother Dongwang to be so famous. Even the Yunyue sect, which is so far away from the lightning sword sect, knows of his existence. The news of the Thunder Knife sect taking in Han Yujing, a genius disciple of the Tailao planet that only appears once in 100 years, has spread to almost half of the Honglio Galaxy. Zhou Dongwang of our lightning sword sect defeated Han Yujing with a single blow, and naturally, this news cannot be kept a secret. I'm afraid that the major sects of the Alliance have also caught wind of it. Unlike the group of Dharma adepts from the lightning sword sect, who had a clear understanding of Zhou Donghuang's abilities, the group of Dharma adept from the Yunyue sect looked at the group from the lightning sword sect with shock and uncertainty in their eyes. A mid-Dharma adept who has mastered the Dharma body integration technique? You must be joking. I don't think it's possible either. Even among the ultimate Dharma adepts, there are not many who can master the Dharma body integration technique. But that's what the rumors say. It's probably fake news. Many rumors get more and more ridiculous the more they spread. Obviously, the group of Dharma adepts of the Yunyue sect did not believe that there was a mid-Dharma adept in the lightning sword sect who could master the Dharma body integration technique. Faced with the Yunyue sect leader's question, Yu Yuqing laughed heartily. "Sect leader Zhang, you're really well informed. Little junior brother, that's the Yunyue sect leader, Zhang Yuanhan." At the same time, He Mengshi said to Zhou Dongwang, "The Yunyue sect has always been on good terms with the lightning sword sect. Under the Yunyue sect leader, Zhang Yuanhan, there's also a mid-Dharma adept who is quite powerful. It's said that the Yunyue sect's mid-Dharma adept is second only to him, and he could not even withstand a single blow from him. Speak of the devil." Just as He Mengshi finished speaking, behind the Yunyue sect leader, Zhang Yuanhan, a tall, burly young man dressed in a brocade robe stepped forward and bowed to Yu Yuqing. I'm Yuan Dong. Greetings, Senior Uncle Yu. I was talking about him just now, He Mingshi said to Zhou Dongwang. At this time, He Mingshi said to Zhou Dongwang, his Dharma power is also very strong. Although it has not reached the stage of Dharmic possession, it is very close. Faced with Yuan Dong's bow, Yu Yuqing laughed heartily. Nephew Yuan Dong, don't tell me you haven't reached the late Dharma stage yet? Senior Uncle Yu, I only plan to reach the late Dharma stage after this alliance hunt ends. Yuan Dong spoke in a tone that was neither humble nor arrogant. Looks like you can break through now, but you haven't yet. Yu Yuqing looked deeply at Yuan Dong. Similar situations were not uncommon in the various sects of the alliance. If one did not increase his level of practice for the time being and used his current Dharma power to participate in the alliance hunt, he would undoubtedly have a greater advantage, and it would be easier for him to obtain points. Nephew Yuan Dong, are you planning to make it to the top 10 this time? Yu Yuqing asked. I hope so. As soon as Yuan Dong finished speaking, he looked at Yu Yuqing with a burning gaze and said, Senior Uncle Yu, I know that I may not be a match for your sect's genius disciple who has mastered the Dharma-body integration technique at the mid-Dharma stage. However, I would still like to spar with him before the alliance hunt. Would that be convenient? As soon as he finished speaking, he added, My Dharma power has reached a bottleneck recently, and it's difficult for me to improve further and master the Dharma-body integration technique. I would like to see if I can gain some inspiration by sparring with your sect's genius disciple. Yuan Dong opened his mouth, intending to challenge Zhou Dongwang. However, after hearing Yuan Dong's words, Yu Yuqing shook his head and said, Nephew Yuan Dong, forget it. Senior Uncle Yu, Yuan Dong said seriously. I just want to see what he is capable of. Even if I'm defeated by him in one move, I will accept it. Nephew Yuan Dong, he has already reached the late Dharma stage. Yu Yuqing said, there is no point in you sparring with him. As soon as Yu Yuqing said this, the Yunhua sect disciples who had wanted to criticize the Lightning Sword sect's genius disciple, Zhou Dongwang, immediately shut their mouths. Yuan Dong's expression froze for a moment, and then he sighed with a bitter smile. He is more daring than I am. As soon as he finished speaking, he retreated. Sect leader Yu, sect leader Zhang. At this time, another group of people approached from afar. Leading them was a white-haired, white-browed old man who smiled and greeted Yu Yuqing and Zhang Yuanhan. Sect leader Huang. Yu Yuqing and Zhang Yuanhan greeted the old man. At this time, He Mengshi introduced to Zhou Dongwang and to Zhuang, who were beside her. This is the Tiansong sect leader, Huang Chunqiu. Sect leader Yu, that genius disciple of your Lightning Sword sect who is at the mid-Dharma stage, is now famous throughout the Honglio galaxy. This time, he should be here, right? As Huang Chunqiu led the group of people from the Tiansong sect closer, he looked at Yu Yuqing. From his words, it was obvious that he was also very interested in Zhou Dongwang. Little junior brother, I didn't lie to you, did I? Now, you're famous throughout the entire Honglio galaxy. Even among the two transcendental forces, I'm afraid your name has spread. He Mengshi smiled and said, Your little lover must have heard of your deeds. This is strange. Why hasn't she come a look for you? Just as Zhou Dongwang was speechless at He Mengshi's words, the Yunhua sect leader, Zhang Yuanhan, smiled and said to the Tiansong sect leader, Huang Chunqiu, sect leader Huang, that genius disciple of the Lightning Sword sect has already entered the late Dharma stage. Just now, my disciple Yuan Dong wanted to spar with him, but after learning that he has already entered the late Dharma stage, he could only give up. According to what I know, your last disciple, Mo Yiqian, has already tempered his Dharma power to the stage of Dharma body integration at the late Dharma stage. I wonder who is stronger between him and that genius disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. As he spoke, Zhang Yuanhan's eyes revealed a hint of curiosity. Sect leader Zhang, fists and feet have no eyes, and the alliance hunt is about to begin tomorrow. It is too risky to spar now. Even if you want to see my stupid disciple spar with a genius disciple of the Lightning Sword sect, you should wait until the alliance hunt is over. Huang Chunqiu shook his head and said, If that is the case, I will wait and see. Zhang Yuanhan was not surprised by Huang Chunqiu's response. because he knew that the Tiansong sect leader was famous for being cautious. His last disciple, Mo Etian, was the trump card of the Tiansong sect in this alliance hunt. Naturally, he was not willing to let him spar with others at this time, not to mention the fact that he might not win. Even if he won, he would have to pay a hefty price. Little junior brother, this last disciple of the Tiansong sect leader, Mo Etian, is at the late Dharma stage and has mastered the Dharma body integration technique. Based on past alliance hunts, it is almost certain that he will be able to make it into the top 10 of this alliance hunt, He Mengshi said to Zhou Dongwang. I just don't know what rank he can squeeze into. In a chapter 265, there were a total of 52 sects in the Honglio Galaxy's alliance of sects, and they were all the top sects in the Honglio Galaxy. Whether it was the Lightning Sword sect, the Thunder Knife sect, or the other sects, they were just one of the 52 sects in the alliance. Although the genius disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Han Yujing, was extremely talented, there were many others who were comparable to him in the other sections. In fact, there were people who were even more outstanding than him, but there weren't many of them. For example, Mo Yiqian, the number one of the younger generation in the Tiansong sect, was already a late Dharma adept before the age of 30. He had even tempered his Dharma power to the point where he could use Dharmic possession. His level of talent was even greater than Han Yujing of the Thunder Knife sect. Of course, in Zhou Dongwang's eyes, whether it was Han Yujing or Mo Yiqian, there was no difference between them and the word genius. In his eyes, the geniuses were only the most outstanding geniuses of the supreme sects and families that stood at the top of the boundless universe. The Honglio Galaxy was just one of the countless galaxies in the vast universe. Looking at the many galaxies in the vast universe, in terms of resources and richness, it could at most be considered as a lower middle galaxy. For example, the Luoha Galaxy, where Luo Qinghan's family was located, could only be considered a lower middle galaxy. As for the Kaiyuan Galaxy, where the Ziyun planet was located, it was a lower middle galaxy. Dharmic possession? In the Honglio Galaxy, anyone who could master the Dharmic possession technique at the Dharma stage was considered a rare genius with a limitless future. However, in some of the major forces in some of the more resource-rich galaxies, Dharma adepts who were unable to master the Dharma body possession technique when they were at the Dharma stage would not be able to receive the full attention of the forces behind them after they entered the primordial soul stage. In the eyes of these forces, there was no need to nurture such people, as it would only be a waste of resources. It was better to focus resources on a few geniuses. Because of this, Zhou Dongwang did not feel anything when a late Dharma adept mastered the Dharmic possession technique. In fact, He Mengshi and Zhuang, who had switched to the deity-level techniques of the Thousand Star Sword technique and the Fiery Thunder training regimen, had already mastered the technique of Dharma body possession, even though they were only at the mid-Dharma stage. Especially De Zhuang. He had already mastered the Dharmic possession technique when he was at the early Dharma stage. As time passed, more and more people arrived. Of the 52 sects in the alliance, there were some sect leaders who were familiar with each other and had close personal relationships. When they arrived, they would all gather together. The Jihan sect is here. Suddenly, of the Summer Valley head of the Lightning Sword sect, Lien Kuen's voice rang out, causing Zhou Dongwang to open his eyes. "Little junior brother, take a good look. Is your little lover here yet?" He Mengshi asked with a teasing smile as she saw Zhou Dongwang looking at the group of girls flying over from afar. Luo Qinghoff of Jihan was. Although she was, and of Zhuang of Ji Master, she of Luo of Jihan, a sect of Jihan, of a sect Luo, QOF sect members was that a junior. Of Luos. Among the Dharma disciples of the various sects, there were many youths in the prime of their lives. When they saw the good-looking female disciples of the Alliance, there was no lack of discussion. The female disciples of the Jihan sect are quite good-looking. Quite a few. I really envy the male disciples of the Jihan sect. They have so many opportunities to interact with these beautiful female disciples. Look, That female disciple of the Jihan sect at the back is so beautiful. Within the lightning sword sect, a group of young and energetic male disciples were already scrutinizing the female disciples of the Jihan sect from a distance away. They were all like hungry wolves, their eyes shining brightly, and they were just short of drooling. Among the Jihan sect members, Luo Qinghoff was undoubtedly the prettiest. Although Luo Qinghoff was at the back and did not stand out, her beauty still made her the center of attention, apart from the beautiful woman leading the Jihan sect. Little junior brother, is that her? He Mengshi stood beside Zhou Dongwang and followed his gaze. She also saw Luo Qinghoff clearly and murmured, "She is really beautiful. She is worthy of you." At this time, He Mengshi saw Luo Qinghoff's gaze sweep over to her, but she quickly looked away and lowered her head. In an instant, the group of hot-blooded and ferocious young male disciples from the surrounding sects all looked away in disappointment. Luo Qinghoff lowered her head, and half of her beautiful face was blocked. They could not look at her even if they wanted to. Little junior brother, your little lover is so shy when she sees you. He Mengshi chuckled softly. Zhou Dongwang was already used to He Mengshi's teasing, so he just shook his head helplessly and looked away. He finally heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Luo Qinghoff here. At least he knew that Luo Wuchen had successfully fed the ancient core drug that he had given to Luo Qinghoff, the developing essence. Otherwise, Luo Qinghoff would not have been able to enter the Dharma stage in such a short period of time and even have the ability to participate in the Alliance hunt. Looks like she really did not switch to the technique of everlasting youth. Luo Qinghoff was alone at the back of the group from the Jihan sect. It was not difficult to see that her ability, even among the early Dharma disciples of the Jihan sect, was among the weakest. If she had switched to the technique of everlasting youth, Luo Qinghoff's ability would not have been so weak. What a stubborn girl. Zhou Dongwang sighed to himself. Sect leader Meng, the disciples of the Jihan sect are really the center of attention no matter where they go. As the group from the Jihan sect approached, the Tiansong sect leader, Huang Chunxiu, smiled and greeted the beautiful lady who was leading the group. If I did not know that you were here to participate in the Alliance hunt, I would have suspected that you have gathered the most beautiful female disciples of the Jihan sect together. Sect leader Huang, you're still so good with words. The beautiful lady was the Jihan sect leader, Meng Yuping. Hearing Huang Chunxiu's words, she shook her head and smiled. Her already beautiful face bloomed like a flower at this moment. It was obvious that Meng Yuping and Huang Chunxiu were old acquaintances, and it was obvious that they were on good terms. Just as Meng Yuping led the group from the Jihan sect to the empty space between the group from the Lightning Sword sect and the group from the Tiansong sect, a young man dressed in a grayish-brown robe stepped out from the group. He came to the front of the group of Dharma disciples from the Tiansong sect and stood beside a young man who was standing at the very front of the group of Dharma disciples. This young man was dressed in a sky-blue robe, and his handsome face carried a hint of a ruffian. He was also the focus of the female disciples from the Tiansong sect. He was the number one of the younger generation of the Tiansong sect, Mo Etienne. Senior brother Mo, the young man who had stepped out from the last row of Tiansong sect disciples, greeted Mo Etienne respectfully. Yuan Zheng? Mo Etienne glanced at the young man. What are you doing here all of a sudden? Senior brother Mo, do you remember Luo Qinghan that I mentioned to you before? The girl in green who is standing at the very back of the group from the Jihan sect is Luo Qinghan. Yuan Zheng looked at the girl who was standing at the very back of the group from the Jihan sect. She was Luo Qinghan as he spoke to Mo Etienne. When Yuan Zheng looked at Luo Qinghan, there was a hint of dissatisfaction in his eyes. However, this dissatisfaction was quickly replaced by a shrewd glint. All those years ago, when they were on the Tianxian planet of the Luoha galaxy, he had wanted to possess Luo Qinghan. For this reason, he had even arranged for Luo Qinghan's best friend to help him drug her. However, Luo Qinghan had run away in the end, and he had not succeeded. Later on, Luo Qinghan's level of cultivation had improved rapidly. Later on, she could even be mentioned in the same breath as him. Later on, He and Luo Qinghan had been brought to the Honglio Galaxy by the people of the Honglio Galaxy Alliance. Luo Qinghan had entered the Jihan sect, and he had entered the Tiansong sect. She is Luo Qinghan? The girl in green who was standing at the very back of the group from the Jihan sect had become the focus of everyone's attention the moment she had appeared. Even Mo Etienne had noticed her, and a trace of desire had arisen within him. A fair and graceful lady was the ideal wife for a gentleman. Mo Etienne had never lacked women by his side, but he had never seen such an outstanding woman. This woman made Mo Etienne feel the urge to take her as a concubine. He had never taken a wife, nor had he taken a concubine. However, if he were to take a wife, she must be of equal status. If the woman in front of him had a strong background, he could naturally marry her, but at the moment, she was only fit to be his concubine. Senior brother Mo, if you fancy her, you have to hurry. Although there are not many male disciples in the Jihan sect, there are still quite a few. Don't let them beat you to it. Yuan Zheng said. Yuan Zheng was actually not as talented as Luo Qinghan. The reason why he had the ability to appear here was mainly because he had been bootlicking ever since he had entered the Tiansong sect, and he had become the disciple of an inter-sect elder of the Tiansong sect. In addition, he had made friends with many people in the Tiansong sect, and he had also gained many benefits. Knowing that Mo Etienne liked women, he had deliberately approached him and mentioned his hometown, the Tianxian planet of the Honglio Galaxy, the eldest daughter of the Luo family, Luo Qinghan. He had even praised Luo Qinghan in front of Yuan Zheng, saying that she was a rare beauty in the world. Yuan Zheng, you have good taste. Mo Etienne looked at Yuan Zheng deeply. I had thought that you were just trying to get close to me and spoke without thinking. Now it seems that you are not lying. This Luo Qinghan is indeed exquisite. As he said this, Mo Etienne looked at Luo Qinghan again, and his gaze became even more passionate. Senior brother Mo, you must be joking. Yuan Zheng would not have the guts to lie to you. Yuan Zheng laughed. Mo Etienne's eyes flashed, and he ignored Yuan Zheng. He stepped forward, passing by a few senior members of the Tiansong sect, and arrived beside Huang Chunxiu, who was talking to the Jihan sect leader, Meng Yuping. Huang Chunxiu was not only the leader of the Tiansong sect, but also his master. Master, when he arrived beside Huang Chunxiu, Mo Etienne bowed and said to Huang Chunxiu with a serious expression, Master, I have fallen in love at first sight with Luo Qinghan, a disciple of the Jihan sect. Please make the decision and let Uncle Master Meng betroth her to Etienne. End of this chapter. Chapter 266. Mo Etienne's words shocked not only his master, Tiansong sect leader Huang Chunxiu, but the rest of the Tiansong sect as well. Yuan Zheng was even more dumbfounded. Although he had advised Mo Etienne to hurry up, he had not expected Mo Etienne to be so direct and decisive. This was too frightening, wasn't it? Was this the confidence of the top of the Tiansong sect's younger generation? The Jihan sect leader Meng Yuping, who was chatting with Huang Chunxiu, was also shocked by Mo Etienne. She knew Mo Etienne. He was her old friend Huang Chunxiu's proudest disciple, and the top of the Tiansong sect's younger generation. One of her disciples was especially fond of Mo Etienne. She had repeatedly asked her to propose marriage to him, but she had rejected her on the grounds that women should be reserved. Luo Qinghan. If not for the fact that Luo Qinghan had obtained a place to participate in the alliance hunt, Meng Yuping would not have known of her existence. Although there was no shortage of male disciples in the Jihan sect who were discussing Luo Qinghan's beauty, none of the female disciples mentioned it. Therefore, Meng Yuping had never heard of Luo Qinghan before. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. While Meng Yuping was stunned, the group of Jihan sect disciples all turned to look at the girl in green who was standing at the back. Although the woman in green had no makeup on her face, she still had a beautiful appearance that could topple a city. Her beauty was unparalleled and eye-catching. At this moment, most of the female disciples of the Jihan sect looked at Luo Qinghan with jealousy in their eyes. The group of male disciples all looked indignant. Luo Qinghan, was the flower of the Jihad sect. As the saying went, keep the goodies within the family. They were against Luo Qinghan marrying into another sect. Luo Qinghan, who had been deep in thought with her head lowered, did not hear Mo Etienne's words. But now that a group of people had turned to look at her, coupled with the whispers by her ear, she finally realized what had happened. Mo Etienne. She had heard of this person before. He was the top of the Tiansong sect's younger generation and the dream lover of many female disciples of the Jihad sect. Because of this, he was not surprised that the group of female disciples of the Jihad sect were looking at him with jealousy. I hope Uncle Master Meng will grant my wish. At this moment, Mo Etienne looked at Meng Yuping and bowed. Senior brother Mo. Before Meng Yuping could speak, among the group of Dharma adept from the Jihad sect, a beautiful young lady who was standing at the very front stepped out. She had a murderous air about her. You said that you fell in love with Luo Qinghan at first sight, so today should be the first time you've seen her. This is the first time you've met her, and you don't know her well either. Yet, you want her to marry you? Aren't you being too hasty? This young lady's name was Zhong Feng, and she was the personal disciple of Meng Yuping, the leader of the Jihad sect. She was also one of the mid-Dharma disciples who had come to participate in the alliance hunt. She had liked Mo Etienne for many years. For Mo Etienne's sake, she had even asked her master to go to the Tiansong sect to propose marriage, but her master had refused. Fate has arrived. It doesn't matter if it's grass or not. Mo Etienne shook his head and said, I believe in my feelings. Hearing this, Lu Feng could tell that Mo Etienne had made up his mind. Instantly, her face turned red, and when she instinctively turned to look at Luo Qinghan, her gaze was icy. At the same time, when Luo Qinghan happened to glance at Lu Feng shot her a warning look. Sect Leader Meng. At this moment, Huang Chunqiu, the leader of the Tiansong sect, also spoke up. This is the first time I've seen this disciple of mine make such a request. It looks like he's really interested in a disciple of your sect. If it's possible, Sect Leader Meng, why don't you ask your disciple for her opinion? Huang Chunqiu doted on Mo Etienne very much. Because of this, he was very cooperative when Mo Etienne made such a request. Since Huang Chunqiu had said so, Meng Yuping naturally could not refuse. She immediately called out to Luo Qinghan. Luo Qinghan, come here for a moment. Meng Yuping was the leader of the Jihad sect. Even if Luo Qinghan was not too willing to go out, she did not dare to disobey. Under Zhong Feng's murderous gaze, Luo Qinghan stepped out of the crowd and came to Meng Yuping's side. She bowed and greeted her. Sect leader. Seeing Luo Qinghan come out, Mo Etienne's eyes lit up. His gaze was filled with undisguised possessiveness. Luo Qinghan, Mo Etienne, a core disciple of the Tiansong sect, wants to marry you. What do you think? Meng Yuping looked at Luo Qinghan calmly. When she asked this question, her tone was calm, as if there was not a trace of emotion in it. Sect leader, I refuse. Luo Qinghan, who had wanted to say that she had long since resolved to never marry, felt a wave of disgust in her heart when she noticed Mo Etienne's gaze and rejected him directly. As soon as Luo Qinghan said this, Zhong Feng immediately beamed with joy. Her gaze when she looked at Luo Qinghan also became gentler. This Luo Qinghan rejected him? Oh my God, does she know what she rejected? If she could marry senior brother Mo Etienne, even if it was just as a concubine, it would be a blessing of several lifetimes' worth of cultivation. She actually rejected him? Many of the female disciples of the Jihad sect whispered among themselves. They all felt that Luo Qinghan did not know what was good for her and did not know how to grasp such a good opportunity. Meanwhile, the male disciples of the Jihad sect all heaved a sigh of relief. He refused? The group of Dharma disciples of the Tiansong sect were already shocked by Mo Etienne's sudden proposal. Now that they saw the female disciple of the Jihad sect reject Mo Etienne so bluntly, their hearts, which had just calmed down, trembled again. They could not understand why this disciple of the Jihad sect would reject Mo Etienne's marriage proposal. With the talent that Mo Etienne had displayed so far, as long as he didn't die prematurely in the future, it was almost certain that he would become a soul formation cultivator. Moreover, Mo Etienne himself was quite handsome. Such a man was actually rejected by someone. Furthermore, his opponent was just an ordinary disciple of the Jihan sect. Little junior brother, you really can sit still? If I were you, I would have gone up and slapped him when he said those words. He Mingxi looked at Zhou Dongwang and shook her head. Now, Zhou Dongwang was looking calmly at Luo Qinghan. However, although his expression was calm, deep within his eyes, there was a strange light that was hard to detect. You're rejecting me, Mo Etienne? At the same time, as if he had misheard, Mo Etienne looked at Luo Qinghan in disbelief. Do you know what kind of person I, Mo Etienne, am? I know that you're the first of the younger generation of the Tiansong sect and a future soul formation adept. Luo Qinghan glanced at Mo Etienne with some disgust. But so what? Perhaps other women would fight tooth and nail to marry you, but I, Luo Qinghan, do not care. Are you satisfied with this answer? Seeing Zhou Dongwang again, Luo Qinghan was already in a bad mood. Now that Mo Etienne had messed with her, coupled with the fact that she did not like him, she immediately exploded. As soon as Luo Qinghan said this, the group of male disciples of the Jihan sect felt elated, and all of them were beaming with joy. However, most of the female disciples of the Jihan sect did not look too good, especially Zhong Feng, whose expression, which had originally calmed down, became ugly again. What did she mean by other women fighting tooth and nail to marry him? Was this Luo Qinghan saying that they had no taste? This female disciple of the Jihan sect has quite a character. Just now, I thought that she was going to agree. After all, the other party is Mo Etienne of the Tiansong sect. Among the group of people from the Lightning Sword sect, Lu Lang, the son of the Spring Valley head, Lu Fengyao, said with some surprise, "Ha ha ha." At this time, Mo Etienne, who had been stunned by Luo Qinghan's words, finally regained his senses and could not help but laugh out loud. After a while, he stopped laughing and stared at Luo Qinghan with shining eyes. Interesting, very interesting. Luo Qinghan, today, I will say this, today, you rejected me, Mo Etienne. In the future, you will still marry me, Mo Etienne, as a concubine. Do you believe me? When Mo Etienne said this, his tone was full of confidence, as if there was no woman in the world that he could not handle. I don't believe you. A lazy voice rang out, but it was someone answering Mo Etienne on behalf of Luo Qinghan. Who? Mo Etienne's expression changed, and he turned to glare angrily in the direction of the group of people from the Lightning Sword sect, because the voice had come from there. Almost at the same time that Mo Etienne shouted, a white figure slowly stepped out from the group of people from the Lightning Sword sect, looking calmly at Mo Etienne. Zhou Dongwang. Just now, when the group of Dharma adept from the Lightning Sword sect had heard that voice, many people were wondering who was so daring as to provoke Mo Etienne. Was he not afraid of Mo Etienne's revenge after entering the Guiyao planet after the Alliance Hunt began? Now, seeing the person who had stepped out, many of the Lightning Sword sect disciples were stunned. This Zhou Dongwang, could it be that he has taken a liking to Luo Qinghan? Finally, he can't take it anymore. He Mengxi smiled brightly, as if she was watching a good show. Zhou Dongwang. As the group of people from the Tiansong sect, the Jihan sect, and the Yunyue sect looked at Zhou Dongwang, the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, also looked at Zhou Dongwang with a shocked expression, not knowing what Zhou Dongwang was up to. Zhou Dongwang. Zhou Dongwang's tone was indifferent as he looked at Mo Etienne, and his lips curled into a mocking smile. Why? From your tone, you don't sound too happy? You're Zhou Dongwang. Mo Etienne's eyes narrowed, and his originally angry gaze was now tinged with fear. He is Zhou Dongwang? I usually think that Mo Etienne is quite handsome, but compared to Zhou Dongwang, he seems to pale in comparison. As the saying goes, if you compare goods, you have to throw them away. It's more or less the same. The people of the Yunyue sect discussed animatedly, as if they wanted to see the world in chaos. Zhou Dongwang, I am asking Luo Qinghan, what are you going to say? After all, he was in the right, and even though he was afraid of Zhou Dongwang, Mo Yiqian was still full of confidence. In an instant, the gazes of everyone from the four main sects fell on Zhou Dongwang, as if they wanted to know how he would respond to Mo Yiqian. Even Luo Qinghan subconsciously looked at Zhou Dongwang at this moment. Under the gaze of the crowd, Zhou Dongwang said casually, "She is my woman. I am answering you on her behalf. Is there a problem?" End of this chapter. Chapter 267. She's my woman. Is there a problem with me replying to you on her behalf? As soon as Zhou Dongwang said this, the entire place fell silent. He would not rest until his words shocked everyone to death. Luo Qinghan looked at Zhou Dongwang with a complicated look in her eyes, but she quickly looked away and regained her composure. Of course, even though she looked calm on the surface, her heart was in turmoil. She had not expected that Zhou Dongwang would still stand up for her after she had been so ruthless towards him. At this moment, even the Dharma adepts of the Yingyue sect were shocked by Zhou Dongwang. They had not expected Zhou Dongwang to respond to Mo Yiqian in such a manner. Zhou Dongwang said that Luo Qinghan of the Jihan sect is his woman. From the Lightning Sword sect leader to the four valley heads of the inner sect, and even the Dharma adepts, everyone looked at Zhou Dongwang in astonishment. Just now, when Zhou Dongwang had stepped forward, they had been surprised and puzzled. Why had Zhou Dongwang stepped forward? Now, hearing Zhou Dongwang's words, they were puzzled and shocked. This Luo Qinghan of the Jihan sect was Zhou Dongwang's woman? Equally shocked were the people of the Jihan sect and the Tiansong sect. You said she's your woman? Mo Yiqian had never imagined that Zhou Dongwang would say this and say that Luo Qinghan was his woman. In the next moment, without waiting for Zhou Dongwang's response, he looked at Luo Qinghan and his eyes flashed. Luo Qinghan, Zhou Dongwang said you're his woman? At that moment, everyone's attention was focused on Luo Qinghan. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Luo Qinghan glanced at Mo Yiqian and said calmly, I, Luo Qinghan, will either remain unmarried for the rest of my life, or I will definitely marry Zhou Dongwang. Of everyone present, besides Luo Qinghan herself, only Zhou Dongwang understood what she meant. To the others, Luo Qinghan's words were no different from saying that she would marry no one but Zhou Dongwang. Instantly, Mo Yiqian's expression became extremely ugly. He subconsciously turned to look at Yuan Zheng, and a cold light flashed across his eyes. Sensing the coldness in Mo Yiqian's eyes, Yuan Zheng smiled bitterly. He knew that this senior brother, Mo, definitely hated him. After all, he was the one who had told him about Luo Qinghan's background, and he had not told him that Luo Qinghan had already promised to marry someone else. However, he only found out about this now. I had originally thought that Luo Qinghan was very virtuous and virtuous. I never thought that she would climb up the social ladder so quickly. It seems that she rejected me in the past only because my martial talent was not outstanding enough for her to sacrifice herself for me. When Yuan Zheng looked at Luo Qinghan again, there was a hint of mockery in his eyes. He was mocking Luo Qinghan for pretending to be aloof in the past. Haha! Just as the atmosphere was about to turn cold, the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, looked at Zhou Dongwang and laughed heartily. Zhou Dongwang, I thought that you were so busy with your training that you didn't have time to think about your own life. I didn't expect you to pluck such a beautiful flower from the Jihan sect. Amazing, amazing, Yu Yuqing exclaimed. Yu Yuqing had spoken up to give the Tiansong sect disciple, Mo Yiqian, a way out of this embarrassing situation. Mo Yiqian was also sensible. When Yu Yuqing spoke, he retreated behind the Tiansong sect leader, Huang Chunqiu, as if nothing had happened. However, anyone with a discerning eye could see that he did not look too good. Huang Chunqiu was also a little embarrassed. After all, no matter who saw what had happened today, it seemed that his disciple, Mo Yiqian, was thinking too highly of himself. Just as he was about to change the topic and continue chatting with the Jihan sect leader, Ming Yuping, the group of Dharma adepts of the Yunus sect, began to discuss without restraint. My God, this Mo Etienne retreated just like that. I thought that he would challenge Zhou Dongwang. That's right. Although Luo Qinghan and Zhou Dongwang have pledged to marry each other, they are not married yet. He doesn't even have the courage to fight with Zhou Dongwang. Is this the genius disciple of the Tiansong sect? The number one of the younger generation in the Tiansong sect? Didn't you hear what Luo Qinghan said? Either she marries Zhou Dongwang, or she doesn't marry for the rest of her life. She's obviously not giving a second man besides Zhou Dongwang a chance. Even so, he can still issue a challenge to Zhou Dongwang. As long as he defeats Zhou Dongwang, he will regain all his pride. As long as he defeats Zhou Dongwang, he can say to Luo Qinghan after the event, "Is this the man that you, Luo Qinghan, fancy? You're talking about defeating Zhou Dongwang. What if he loses? Wouldn't that be even more embarrassing?" That's true. It looks like he still has no confidence in himself. The group of Dharma adepts of the Yunus sect had long been eager to watch the two of them fight when their sect leader had suggested to the Tiansong sect leader that Mo Iqian and Zhou Dongwang fight. More than that, they wanted to see the power of Zhou Dongwang, the most famous martial arts genius of the younger generation in the Hongyo galaxy. When the Tiansong sect leader had not listened to their sect leader's suggestion, they had already felt that it was a pity. Now, with the situation between Mo Etienne and Zhou Dongwang, they all seemed to see hope for the two of them to fight, and they began to discuss among themselves. Not only did they not deliberately lower their voices, but they also intentionally discussed it loudly, as if afraid that Mo Etienne would not hear them. The discussions of the group of Dharma adepts of the Yunus sect were clearly heard by everyone in the Lightning Sword sect, the Jihan sect, and the Tiansong sect. In an instant, Mo Etienne, who had just retreated, once again became the center of attention. Now, not only were there many disciples of the Lightning Sword sect and the Jihan sect whispering to each other, even among the Tiansong sect disciples, there were many who looked at Mo Etienne with anticipation. Now, Mo Etienne felt as if he had been forced to do something beyond his abilities. Finally, for the sake of his pride and self-confidence, he finally looked at Huang Chuanxiu and said, "Master, I've long heard that the Lightning Sword sect has recently produced an extremely talented young disciple named Zhou Dongwang. He is only at the mid-Dharma stage, but he has already mastered the Dharma body integration technique. Now, he has even entered the late Dharma stage. I want to fight with him," Mo Etienne said. Hearing this, Huang Chuanxiu sighed inwardly. He knew his disciple's temper very well. When he heard the group of Yunus sect disciples talking openly, he knew that his disciple would not be able to hold back. Since Mo Etienne had already spoken, Huang Chuanxiu could only look at the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing. "Sect leader Yu, my disciple, Mo Etienne, would like to fight with a genius disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. I wonder if this is convenient? You'll have to ask Zhou Dongwang himself," Yu Yuqing said. At the same time, Yu Yuqing turned to look at Zhou Dongwang. Now, Zhou Dongwang had returned to Himengshi and to Zhuang's side. At this time, Luo Qinghan, who had just returned to the back of the group of Dharma adepts of the Jihan sect, was approached by a few Jihan sect disciples. "Luo Qinghan, do you think that Zhou Dongwang will accept Mo Etienne's challenge?" "Luo Qinghan, it could be said that with your cooperation, Zhou Dongwang has trampled on Mo Etienne's face and won back his pride. If he accepts Mo Etienne's challenge and loses, all his pride will be gone. Furthermore, even if he does not accept, he will still be embarrassed." Luo Qinghan, the few Jihan sect disciples who were usually not close to Luo Qinghan, after knowing the relationship between Luo Qinghan and Zhou Dongwang, became much friendlier towards Luo Qinghan. In the past, Luo Qinghan was just a disciple of the Jihan sect. Although she was talented, there were many talented disciples in the Jihan sect, and any disciple would not be any worse than Luo Qinghan. But now, Luo Qinghan had the additional identity of Zhou Dongwang's fiancé. Who was Zhou Dongwang? He was a genius disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. At the age of 24, He had already reached the mid-Dharma stage, and he had even mastered the technique of Dharma-body integration. Such an achievement was extremely rare in the history of the Honglio galaxy, and it was precisely because of this that Zhou Donghuang's name had spread throughout the entire Honglio galaxy. Now, according to the group of Yunyue sect disciples who wanted to stir up trouble, the 26-year-old Zhou Donghuang had actually reached the late Dharma stage. Faced with their questions, Luo Qinghan shook her head indifferently, indicating that she did not know. Seeing that they could not get an answer from Luo Qinghan, they immediately followed the gazes of the others and looked at Zhou Donghuang, who was among the group of Dharma disciples of the Lightning Sword sect. Now, Zhou Donghuang was the focus of all the people of the four major sections. Zhou Donghuang, Mo Etienne of the Tiansong sect wants to spar with you. Do you accept? Yu Yuqing, the leader of the Lightning Sword sect, specially asked, almost at the same time as Yu Yuqing's words. Although Zhou Donghuang did not reply, his figure once again rose into the air, undoubtedly answering Yu Yuqing. At the same time that Zhou Donghuang rose into the air, Mo Etienne also rose into the air. As he flew, he looked at Zhou Donghuang and said in a clear voice, Zhou Donghuang, I have long heard that you are extraordinary. Even in the Tiansong sect, there are many people who say that you are worthy of being on par with me. Today, I want to see if you are as extraordinary as the rumors say. On par with me? Zhou Donghuang finally spoke. At the same time, his unfocused gaze focused on Mo Etienne, and a mocking smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Do you think you are worthy? You, faced with Zhou Donghuang's undisguised disdain, Mo Etienne's expression changed completely, and his gaze became extremely unfriendly. Zhou Donghuang, you are really arrogant, saying that Mo Etienne is not worthy of being on par with you. Today, I want to see how much you, a disciple of the Lightning Sword sect who says that I am not worthy of being on par with you, have. As Zhou Donghuang's voice fell, the people of the four sects were shocked, and it was not difficult to guess that Mo Etienne would be angered. Now, Mo Etienne was indeed angry. This is going to be a good show. The eyes of the group of Yunyue sect disciples, who were eager to see the world in chaos, all lit up. End of this chapter. Chapter 268. Mo Etienne was completely enraged by Zhou Donghuang. In the starry sky, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Mo Etienne stood there angrily. His face was flushed red, and his long hair flowed behind him. Waves of inner yuan swept out of his body and finally formed a Dharma power that was 10 feet tall. Mo Etienne's Dharma power was a human-shaped Dharma power. Because it was only a Dharma power formed from inner yuan, its face could not be seen clearly. However, one could see that there was a sword in this human-shaped Dharma power's hand. It stood there like a sword god, standing proudly and looking disdainfully at all directions. It's Mo Etienne's sword god Dharma power. I've long heard that the Tiansong sect's Dharma power can be formed at will. Today, I've learned something new. The sword god Dharma power that Mo Etienne formed according to his own ideas is really impressive. As Mo Etienne's Dharma power appeared, everyone from the other three major sects looked at it with some surprise, except for the people of the Tiansong sect, who were used to it. In the boundless universe, not all training methods required a fixed Dharma power. There were also many cultivation techniques that allowed one to condense their Dharma power at will. They could condense whatever Dharma power they wanted. Of course, the latter Dharma power was also very particular. Overly showy and flashy Dharma power was more difficult to train, and it would put one at a disadvantage in the Dharma stage. For example, the sword god Dharma power that Mo Etienne had formed was already considered a showy and flashy Dharma power. However, his talent and power of understanding were not bad, and he could still control it. At the late Dharma stage, he had already mastered the technique of Dharma power possession. As the Dharma power appeared, Mo Etienne's gaze fell on Zhou Donghuang. He said in a low voice, Zhou Donghuang, I've long heard that your Dharma power is a giant tiger Dharma power. Today, I will use the sword in the hand of my sword god Dharma power to slay your giant tiger Dharma power. Mo Etienne's tone was low and cold. It was obvious that he was very angry at Zhou Donghuang's words. The Dharma power is fancy, but it's too flashy. Faced with Mo Etienne's unkind words, Zhou Donghuang merely glanced at him and said unhurriedly, "It seems like you're not convinced by what I said just now. Since that's the case, I'll let you have 3 moves first. I'll make my move after 3 moves." As he spoke, the inner yuan in Zhou Donghuang's body surged out, forming a giant tiger Dharma power that was 10 feet long. This giant tiger was different from ordinary tigers. Its body was more muscular, and the contours of its body were close to perfect. As soon as it appeared, it attracted everyone's attention and stole the limelight from Mo Etienne's Sword God Dharma power. This is the giant tiger Dharma power? Oh my God! In front of this giant tiger Dharma power, all the giant tiger Dharma powers that I've seen in the past, even the ultimate Dharma tiger Dharma powers, can only be considered as cats. It turns out that a tiger can also be perfect to this extent. The proportions of this giant tiger Dharma power are too perfect. If someone had told me before that a giant tiger Dharma power could be so eye-catching, as if it had some kind of magical power, I would never have believed it. The Dharma power that Zhou Donghuang had formed was not an ordinary giant tiger Dharma power, but the white tiger Dharma power of the 4 divine beasts. Naturally, it was not something that an ordinary giant tiger Dharma power could compare to. Even if no one present could recognize that this was the white tiger Dharma power, just by looking at it with their naked eyes, they could tell the difference between the white tiger Dharma power and the ordinary giant tiger Dharma power. They were not on the same level at all, and the difference was so great that it could be described as the difference between heaven and earth. Of course, the most shocking thing now was what Zhou Donghuang had said to Mo Etienne. Zhou Donghuang actually said that he would let Mo Etienne have 3 moves first? Was he crazy? Mo Etienne was the #1 person among the younger generation of the Tiansong sect. He had entered the late Dharma stage before the age of 30 and had mastered the Dharmic possession technique. Now, even the Tiansong sect leader, Huang Chunqiu's expression did not look too good. If it were not for the fact that he was the Tiansong sect leader, he would have already cursed Zhou Donghuang for being arrogant. However, although Huang Chunqiu, the Tiansong sect leader, could not hold back, the group of Dharma disciples of the Tiansong sect could not. They all glared at Zhou Donghuang, feeling that this genius disciple of the Lightning Sword sect was too arrogant. They were the #1 person among the younger generation of the Tiansong sect, someone whom no one could compare to, and yet he was being looked down upon by this disciple of the Lightning Sword sect. At this moment, they also felt a sense of humiliation. "Senior brother Mo, since he wants to let you have 3 moves first, grant him his wish. Senior brother Mo, defeat him in 3 moves. I want to see if he can really let you have 3 moves first." The group of Dharma disciples of the Tiansong sect said to Mo Etienne with righteous indignation. At the same time, the people of the other 3 major sects, from the sect leaders to the early Dharma disciples, all looked at Zhou Donghuang in a daze after regaining their senses. They did not expect Zhou Donghuang to dare say such words. Although the people of the Lightning Sword sect had seen Zhou Donghuang defeat the genius disciple of the Thunder Knife sect, Han Yujing, with 1 move, they did not believe that Zhou Donghuang had the ability to defeat Mo Etienne in 3 moves. Within 3 moves, Zhou Donghuang might be defeated. Isn't Zhou Donghuang too careless? This Mo Etienne is not someone that Han Yujing of the Thunder Knife sect can compare to. Most of the people of the Lightning Sword sect, including the Lightning Sword sect leader, Yu Yuqing, frowned slightly. They only felt that Zhou Donghuang was so careless that he would definitely be defeated. Of course, there were still some people of the Lightning Sword sect who were full of confidence in Zhou Donghuang. For example, the Autumn Valley head, He Jin, the Autumn Valley disciples He Mengshi and Zhuang, as well as the son of the Spring Valley head, Lu Lang. Even Lu Lang did not know why, but when Zhou Donghuang casually said that he would let Mo Etienne have 3 moves first, he actually felt that Zhou Donghuang's ability could crush Mo Etienne. Even if he let Mo Etienne have 3 moves first, he would still be able to defeat him. I actually have such blind trust in him. It seems like his previous performance has been deeply ingrained in my heart. Compared to the disciples of the lightning sword sect other than he Mengshi and Zhuang, Lu Lang was one of the disciples of the lightning sword sect who had interacted with Zhou Donghuang more. From Zhou Donghuang's fake methods to fooling the people of the Summer Valley, to Zhou Donghuang defeating Lian Can and Han Yujing, he had a deep understanding of Zhou Donghuang's fearsomeness. Therefore, now, even though Zhou Donghuang was so arrogant in front of Mo Etian, he felt that Zhou Donghuang had the right to be so. Over at the Jihan sect leader Meng Yuping's personal disciple, Zhong Feng, deliberately approached Luo Qinghan and said mockingly, "Luo Qinghan, aren't you a little too arrogant? Seeing your brother Mo Etian's ability is not that simple. I'm afraid he will regret his wrong decision." Faced with Zhong Feng's mockery, Luo Qinghan ignored her. Her gaze fell on Zhou Donghuang, her expression calm and unruffled. She knew, a year ago, Zhou Donghuang's ability was already stronger than her father's. At that time, her father was already a late Dharma adept and had trained in the deity-level technique. He had mastered the Dharma body integration technique, and his ability would not be weaker than Mo Etian's now. At that time, Zhou Donghuang was only at the mid-Dharma stage. Now that Zhou Donghuang had entered the late Dharma stage, his ability would definitely be stronger. I've only just entered the early Dharma stage, and I barely managed to get a place in the Alliance hunt, and he's already at the late Dharma stage. The gap between us is getting bigger and bigger. Luo Qinghan sighed in her heart, and a desolate look flashed across her eyes. Zhou Donghuang. At this moment, Mo Etian, who had been trembling in anger at Zhou Donghuang's words, finally suppressed the anger in his heart and stared coldly at Zhou Donghuang, shouting, "You will pay a painful price for this arrogant and wrong decision of yours. Since you want to lose to me in 3 moves, then I, Mo Etian, will fulfill your wish." As soon as he finished speaking, Mo Etian's body flashed and became illusory. Then, his sword divinity Dharma idol became more solid. He had obviously used the Dharma idol body possession technique from the very beginning, allowing his Dharma idol to become one with his body. Looks like Mo Etian is really angry now. He has directly used the transcendence possession technique. I'm afraid Zhou Donghuang is going to regret it now. He said he would give Mo Etian 3 moves. In other words, before Mo Etian uses the 3rd move, he can't attack Mo Etian. He can only defend or dodge. Why do I feel that he will go back on his word? Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the sword god Dharma power stepped out into the starry sky. With just 1 step, it seemed as if it had crossed an extremely long distance and was much closer to Zhou Donghuang. Whoosh! The sword in the sword god Dharma power's hand began to move. It swept across the starry sky, and as the sword struck out, inner Yuan bloomed. It was dazzling and eye-catching, as if it could cut through the galaxy. It headed straight for Zhou Donghuang's giant tiger Dharma power. Zhou Donghuang will definitely use the transcendence possession technique to forcefully block or dodge this sword. Just as many people were thinking this, facing the sword of Mo Etian's sword god Dharma power, Zhou Donghuang did not use the transcendence possession technique. His entire body stood in the starry sky, unmoving, his expression calm. And facing the sword of Mo Etian's sword god Dharma power, the white tiger Dharma power merely crouched down and barely dodged the sword. It was more like a coincidence that it had crouched down at the exact moment. At least, this was what the Dharma disciples of the 4 major sects thought. When Mo Etian's sword god Dharma power had attacked, Zhou Donghuang had preemptively controlled his Dharma power to crouch down. This was how he had managed to narrowly dodge the sword of Mo Etian's Dharma power. If it were the next time, Mo Etian would be prepared, and Zhou Donghuang's luck would definitely not be so good. Even Mo Etian himself thought so. Zhou Donghuang, you won't be so lucky next time. However, the faces of the senior leaders of the 4 major sects, including the 4 sect leaders, became solemn. Their disciples felt that Zhou Donghuang was just lucky, but as the saying goes, amateurs watch the show, while experts see the artistry. They could clearly see that Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power had only crouched down after Mo Etian had attacked. End of this chapter. Chapter 269. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. It was as if Mo Etian had completely merged with his sword god Dharma power. When he attacked again, the sword god Dharma power threw the sword in its hand, and then it transformed into 9 rays of light in the sky, shooting in all directions towards Zhou Donghuang's white tiger Dharma power. Seeing this, the surrounding disciples of the 4 major sects also felt that Zhou Donghuang could not rely on luck this time. He could only use the Dharmic possession technique to forcefully take on Mo Etian's attack. This was only Mo Etian's second attack. According to what Zhou Donghuang had said earlier, Mo Etian could not retaliate for the time being. However, Zhou Donghuang still had no intention of using the Dharmic possession technique. He stood in his original position, not moving. As for the white tiger Dharma power, it seemed to transform into a white shadow, circling Zhou Donghuang's body rapidly. It was like a bolt of white lightning circling around Zhou Donghuang's body, blocking all of Mo Etian's sword attacks from all directions. This scene caused the disciples of the 4 major sects to stare in shock. What kind of Dharma power was this? How could it be so powerful without using the Dharmic possession technique? A mere late Dharma adept was actually able to train his Dharma power to such a perfect state? You still have one more move. When Zhou Donghuang's languid and indifferent voice rang out again, the anger in Mo Etian's eyes and the mocking expression on his face all disappeared, replaced by a solemn expression as if he was walking on thin ice. Now, no matter how slow he was, he could still see it. Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power was so powerful that even if he used the Dharmic possession technique to surround Zhou Donghuang and attack, he still could not touch Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power. This Zhou Donghuang's giant tiger Dharma power is obviously good at speed. My attacks are divided, and the speed has become slower, so I can't touch him. Since he insists on not using the Dharmic possession technique and is so arrogant, I will attack his Dharma power at close range and defeat him before he can use the Dharmic possession technique. I will not give him any chance to turn the tables. With that thought, Mo Etian, who seemed to have merged with the sword god's Dharma form, controlled the sword god's Dharma form and quickly stepped out in the starry sky like an unparalleled sword god, stepping on the galaxy and leaving behind a series of afterimages. In the blink of an eye, the sword god Dharma power closed in on the white tiger Dharma power. It raised its hand and stabbed out with its sword. A vortex appeared at the tip of the sword, and it went straight for the white tiger Dharma power. Whoosh! Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the sword god's Dharma power thrust out its sword, heading straight for the white tiger's Dharma power. Moreover, even if the white tiger Dharma power wanted to dodge at this moment, it was already too late. This was because the sword god Dharma power's attack was too close. Just as most people thought that Zhou Donghuang would not be able to use his Dharma power possession technique in time, and that the white tiger Dharma power would not be able to block this sword, the white tiger Dharma power suddenly appeared. Whoosh! Crash! Accompanied by a rapid whistling sound, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the surface of the white tiger Dharma power suddenly lit up with white flames. Then, these white flames twisted and turned into a strange vortex, filled with a destructive aura, as if it could devour everything in the world. The sword of the sword god's Dharma power stabbed into one of the vortexes, and the condensed power actually strangely collapsed and was swallowed up by the vortexes. Hundreds and thousands of vortexes swallowed the sword and the sword god's Dharma power in the blink of an eye. Then, the sword god's Dharma power's hand also became dim, and it was obvious that it was still being swallowed up by the vortexes. Whoosh! In a flash, Mo Etian controlled the sword god's Dharma power to retreat, and only then did the sword god's Dharma power escape from danger. At this time, Mo Etian had already broken out in a cold sweat, and he stared at Zhou Donghuang in shock. What kind of Dharma power is this? Now, Mo Etian no longer dared to treat Zhou Donghuang's Dharma power as an ordinary giant tiger Dharma power. This Dharma power, which looked so much like the giant tiger Dharma power, was too strange. Not only was its speed ridiculously fast, but it also had a defensive method of swallowing power. It was practically impossible to defend against. At this moment, even the crowd of onlookers couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. When they looked at Zhou Dongwang again, their gazes were also filled with shock. This Zhou Dongwang of the Lightning Sword sect is actually such a monster? Mo Yiqian, the number one of the younger generation of the Tiansong sect, was actually unable to defeat Zhou Dongwang even after he gave him 3 moves? And he did not even put him at a disadvantage? This Zhou Dongwang is too unbelievable, isn't he? He's just a late Dharma adept, and he's actually able to force senior brother Mo to such a state? I used to think that senior brother Mo was the man of my dreams, but now, in front of senior brother Zhou of the Lightning Sword sect, senior brother Mo seems to have lost all his luster. I've decided that from now on, the man of my dreams will change from senior brother Mo to senior brother Zhou. Even if he already has junior sister Luo Qinghan. In this boundless universe, it's normal for the strong to have multiple wives and concubines. Junior brother Dongwang is indeed the unparalleled talent of our Lightning Sword sect. He's too much of a monster. At this moment, even the sect leaders of the Tiansong sect, the Jihan sect, and the Yunhua sect were looking at Yu Yuqing, the Lightning Sword sect leader, with jealousy in their eyes. Did their sects not have a disciple like Zhou Dongwang? The Lightning Sword sect had picked up a great bargain. 3 moves have passed. Just as the crowd was still in shock, Zhou Dongwang's indifferent voice rang out once again, instantly attracting everyone's attention. It also caused those who were originally discussing and whispering to shut their mouths. The vast expanse of the starry sky appeared to be calm. Now, it's my turn to make a move. As Zhou Dongwang's voice fell, his figure flickered, and he finally used the dermic possession technique. His entire body seemed to merge with the white tiger Dharma power, and he controlled the white tiger Dharma power to leap across the vast expanse of the starry sky. It was as if he could jump from one planet to another with a single leap. Seeing Zhou Dongwang use the dermic possession technique, Mo Yiqian's eyes narrowed, and a sense of fear rose in his heart. Just now, Zhou Dongwang had not used the dermic possession technique, and he was already so powerful. Now, Zhou Dongwang had used the dermic possession technique, and this was the first time he had taken the initiative to attack him. Although he had not even gotten close, Mo Yiqian could not help but feel a sense of defeat in his heart. Even if Mo Yiqian wanted to forcefully suppress this sense of defeat, there was nothing he could do. This sense of defeat was like an unforgettable one. Roar! As the white tiger Dharma power leaped out, it opened its mouth and let out a tiger roar. The tiger's roar was deafening, and it was unusually deep. Compared to the usual roar of the white tiger Dharma power, it was even more domineering and full of power. At this moment, when the onlookers looked at the white tiger Dharma power again, they could not help but feel a sense of devotion in their hearts. They felt that this Dharma power had given them an inexplicable sense of awe and shock. Bang! A loud sound reverberated through the starry sky. Under the watchful eyes of the 4 sects, even though Mo Yiqian was controlling the sword god Dharma power to resist, it was still unable to block the white tiger Dharma power's claw. With just one swipe of the claw, the sword god Dharma power collapsed in an instant. At the same time that Mo Yiqian's figure appeared, he was also sent flying by a huge force. His face was flushed red, and he was in a sorry state. He spat out a large mouthful of blood. Now, do you still think that you are worthy of being on par with me, Zhou Dongwang? After completely destroying Mo Yiqian's sword god Dharma power, Zhou Dongwang's figure appeared again. At the same time, the white tiger Dharma power transformed back into inner Yuan and returned to Zhou Dongwang's body, as if it had never appeared in the first place. Zhou Dongwang stood there, his snow-white robe untainted by a speck of dust. His gaze landed lazily and calmly on Mo Yiqian, who had barely managed to stop himself. He was in a sorry state from head to toe. One move. After giving Mo Yiqian 3 moves, Zhou Dongwang had only used one move to defeat Mo Etian. At this moment, the onlookers of the four sects felt as if they were in a dream. This was too unrealistic. Mo Etian was, after all, the number one of the younger generation of the Tiansong sect. Even in the entire Honglio galaxy, he was still a well-known figure among the younger generation. But now he had been defeated by Zhou Dongwang in one move. Furthermore, this was after Zhou Dongwang had given him 3 moves. His power has indeed increased. Luo Qinghan stood behind a group of Jihan sect disciples. After glancing at Zhou Dongwang, she looked away guiltily. However, deep in her heart, she cannot calm down for a long time. Indeed, the gap between me and him is getting bigger and bigger. Can I still catch up to him? Luo Qinghan's heart was filled with bitterness. At this moment, a few of the female disciples of the Jihan sect beside Luo Qinghan looked at her in shock. Their eyes were filled with envy. Junior sister Luo, isn't this lover of yours too nature-defying? That's Mo Etian, the number one of the younger generation of the Tiansong sect. He's one of the best of the younger generation of the Honglio galaxy, but he was still defeated by your lover in one move. Other than the group of Tiansong sect disciples who remained silent, the disciples of the other 3 sects could not help but whisper among themselves. Mo Etian is already 29 years old this year, and Zhou Dongwang is only 26. After today's battle, Zhou Dongwang will be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the most outstanding leaders of the younger generation of the 2 transcendental forces. Among the younger generation of the various sects of the Alliance, no one can compare to Zhou Dongwang. It looks like in this alliance hunt, as long as there are no accidents, it will not be difficult for Zhou Dongwang to clinch first place. The current Zhou Dongwang had amazed the senior management and disciples of the 4 major sects of the Alliance with his power. Even though the group of people from the Tiansong sect had remained silent, Zhou Dongwang had defeated the number one of the younger generation of the Tiansong sect, Mo Etian, in a fair and square manner today. Sect leader you, what kind of luck does the Lightning Sword sect have? To think that you actually took in such a demon. The Yunyue sect leader, Zhang Yuanhan, looked at Yu Yuqing. As he sighed, his eyes could not help but reveal waves of envy and jealousy. Although the Tiansong sect leader, Huang Chunxiu, and the Jihan sect leader, Meng Yuping, did not say anything, their gazes towards Yu Yuqing were also filled with undetectable envy and jealousy. End of this chapter.